bit because I had something in the oven, and apparently it didn't work out on time. But I figured I had to get me something to eat before I go in, because this might take a while, because you know how I am about this particular topic. And this particular topic, as you know, this is by, well, maybe you don't know, but this is by request from the lovely Vanessa. She said that I never gave her the JFK, but I did. But it was in another video, but that's fine. This is a standalone JFK situation here tonight. And you know I don't mind doing that. What's going on, Trip? So this one also, because I was on that TRS show last night, and we were talking about this JFK situation, which stemmed from the Trump impeachment, which I let them know that Trump impeachment, that they act like it's the end of the world, Trump getting impeached. But who cares? They say, oh, it's on his record. He's rich. He's the president. He doesn't give a damn about a record. I mean, when you're poor and you go to jail and you have a criminal record, that's a problem. But when you're rich, like Martha Stewart, when she went to prison, did it bother her? No, she came out and made more money. That's how the game is played, man. So who cares about Trump getting impeached? As long as he's still president, he doesn't give a damn. But, you know, it's all theater for the public, just like this JFK assassination that we're about to get into. You know, it's all theater. Last night on that TRS show, the host, Tyrone, he has a vendetta against John F. Kennedy. He seems to hate the man. And when you think about it, there's no reason for him to hate the man. I don't hate the man. But I, too, used to be under the spell that these Kennedys must have been no good, because I guess the powers that be seem to hate them. Yeah, they took them out, but yet they named things after them. You know, that's just to impress the public. You know, but they still took him out. You know, JFK, he still served the government. He still served in the Senate. And he served in the military and the Navy. And what I would show is that it was all a coup. Matter of fact, I bought a DVD off of eBay. It was called American Coup. And they show films, and then they show some ebooks, hard to find ebooks that were put out of print. And once you get all that, there's no question about what happened. You know, yeah, Kennedy was the true president. And you got Tyrone on the TRS show who says that Kennedy was a racist. And I said there's no evidence to suggest that, and everything that he had done for Black people, he did it proactively. For those who don't know, that means nobody had to tell him to do it. Nobody had to pressure him into doing it. He wanted to do it on his own. But his predecessor, Eisenhower, you could say, was you know, he looked kind of like he had some Black heritage, man. I mean, there's a whole lot of secrets being kept out here, man, when you start researching stuff, man. Whole lot of secrets. I noticed that even at Wikipedia, when they had the article on Eisenhower and his early pictures where he looked clear-cut Black, I noticed how they started removing those pictures once people started checking things out. I mean, it's crazy. That's why I'll be damned if I donate to Wikipedia, man. They got to stop taking the propaganda and putting that in place. But he said that JFK was a racist. He wasn't a racist. They said he didn't approve of interracial coupling. That doesn't make anybody a racist, in my opinion, but he hasn't been able to present the proof of that. And when I asked them to show the proof, as is usual when people start lying, they can't show the proof. Just like that flat earth guy the other day who might show up today. You know, we shut him down, and He provided proof. He didn't have proof to rebut on the facts that we presented. He just said, "Oh, you're seeing things." You know, when people start talking that kind of talk, you already know what's going on. Gonna tell me when I looked at the moon with a telescope that I was seeing things. You damn right I was seeing things. I was seeing the moon. He called it a projection. Now, when people start that, I guess, you know, when people come with this bullshit, I guess they think that I'm a crazy man. And okay, whatever the bullshit they present to me, I'm going to say, yeah, that sounds right. But no, that's not the case. So JFK and his assassination. People hate when I bring it up because there was a lady I used to see. And I actually flew to Dallas with this woman because I had gotten into it so much. Not that I was obsessed, but usually anybody who does get into this is obsessed. And the reason why we get into it is because we know the lies are there. So we want to find out the truth. And that right now, that's the only way you can really find out the truth is to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So I actually flew to Dallas to check out the scene of the crime, all the scenes of the crime. And after I checked out the scenes of the crime, the one thing that became clear to me is that there was no doubt that it was a conspiracy because everything was close together. The Dealey Plaza, the police station, the FBI office, the post office where Oswald supposedly rented his mailbox, Jack Ruby's clubs, everything together. There was no doubt about that. So this lady I was with, who's no longer around, she's deceased. She kept saying, man, because, you know, there are tourists there or sightseers, as some people want to call us. That was us too, because we were there. And she said, man, I can't believe all these people coming here just to see something that happened 50 years ago. It happened so long ago. Why are they worried about it? And I'm like, man, she knew we were coming here for this. We went to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium as well. I'm not going to waste the trip, you know. I hate the Cowboys, but I'm going to check out the stadium, you know. But I said, man, this lady, I was thinking maybe I should have taken somebody else. Somebody that I knew that was into it, you know. But I said, man, she's not into it. We went to the Cowboy Stadium. She didn't understand because she's not in the sports, which is understandable, but she didn't understand what a privilege that was to be able to roam freely in the stadium and do what you want to do. The JFK sites, you know, I went there. I had a checklist of things that I wanted to do. And I even met, what was his name? Gary. Damn, I forgot his name. Gary, whatever his name was. He was the guy that headed the Fifth Floor Museum. To my surprise, he died like a few years after that. After I met him, he was the guy who came up with the badge man theory, which I dismiss as leaves because that's what I saw. So I'm a realist. I don't fall for the BS. I don't let people guide my thoughts. If it is what it is, I accept it. If it's not what it is, then I accept that as well. So the badge man, I threw that out. And that was with the men who killed Kennedy. You know, that was I even bought that on DVD too. Wish they put it on Blu-ray, but they probably won't. Now that's a good series to have because then you see some of the last interviews with witnesses that were alive at the time, you know, and now a lot of them are dead. You know, that was a while ago now, that Men Who Killed Kennedy. But when they got into the badge man and the Corsican shooters and all that kind of stuff, you know, that's when I kind of said, boy. Then they talk about the mob and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to get into all that and explain why it was just a coup. It was nothing else. And that's the part of the reason they want to cover it up is not only to get away with the coup, but because, it's a coup in the United States. That doesn't look good, and the fact that it was a coup and you killed a man, that's a problem. That's lingering effects. One of the co-conspirators was the late George Bush. Bush 1. He's major. He was in the CIA. He's a major guy. I'm going to play some clips and show you what he thought of JFK pretty soon. But why does this matter? See, there are people out here who talk about Trump, the hatred for Trump, the love for Trump, or the hatred for Obama, the love for Obama. But these are all puppet presidents. After JFK was killed, they said, you know what? We can't take the risk anymore of a guy going into the White House and trying to do his own thing. So we're going to put some puppets in, and they're going to do our thing. And Obama, as I let it be known many times, Obama got plenty of warning throughout his term that if you mess up, we can get you here, we can get you there, or we can get you at the White House itself. I'm getting to the Nixon thing because people forget or don't even know that he was a Bush proxy. He was persuaded to resign. But see, the thing is, Obama, he got threatened because he's a puppet. His mother, it's clear that his mother was in the CIA. That's pretty clear. Traveling the world in particular hot spots, there ain't no doubt about that. So, and the people that reared them up, whether underground, small hat terrorists, rich guys, you already know what that's all about. And the way it interconnects with the Tupac Shakur and Matulu Shakur, it's uncanny to say the least. But then again, it's not surprising. So the reason why it matters that this man got killed. See, some people, they talk about whether or not you should care about the man, JFK. He seemed like a good-hearted person as far as running the country. Then some other people will bring up his personal life, cheating on his wife, trying to mess with your girl and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's not good. Nobody likes that. That could have also been an issue. Now, when I went to the National Archives in Virginia, checked out some of the JFK files, they were keeping a close eye on me. I said, damn, these things must be pretty important. That's another thing. And I think I went to the National Archives before I actually went to Dallas. Because I said, well, I can get to Virginia. So I'll do that. And the fact that they kept keeping a close eye on me, I kept saying, man, that's something else. So I saw other pictures that Hoover had put into place where he was spying on JFK even before he became president. Wondering, seeing him come from females' homes. Some of these didn't make books, but a lot of the articles you see in the various books, they came from the National Archives. So a lot of the books can be trusted, but I've read quite a few books on this topic, and some of them I dismissed. I think if you see the video I made about the books, that's, quite a few of them that I figure that you must have if you're into this topic. And for a lot of people, it's more like a fetish topic, and they think, okay, well, it's dead and gone. But what happened then brings us to today, brings us to 9/11, brings us to Jim Jones. In other words, what was going on with the CIA and their sinister plans and the bankers, which George Bush and the Bush family are representatives of. This is why JFK, he got in the way. That's the bottom line. He couldn't be controlled, so they say, you know what? We don't like this guy. Let's get him out of here. And it matters because the political system that blacks have been tricked into accepting, especially the vote. That's what we were talking about on the TRS show last night. The voting. The voting system, your vote doesn't count. I asked Tyrone, does your vote count? He says, to some degree. And I told him, well, if you say to some degree, that means it doesn't. He tried to argue it down. But of course, if you can't say yes, and you talk about an electoral college, that means it doesn't count. They have safeguards. They don't trust the people because the country, any country, they're run by rich people. They're run by ruthless people who have killed to get their spots. But the backbone of societies is usually religion or money, and even sex, but mainly religion or money. In this case, you got people controlling the money, but they don't make up the majority of the religion. So they have to do things behind the scenes, and they have to, Meyer Lansky always said that everybody has a price. And he was right. Now, in one video I made, I was telling you about the Dallas, I think it was the DA of Dallas County, how he's getting paid off by the mob and would equate it to about $2.1 million a year. That's a price. And that's in 1949 money. No, I'm saying no. That's what it comes out to from 1949, but that's today's money, $2.1 million a year in 1949. Now, if the mob is paying like that, I mean, everybody has a price. My man, he took his price. That was enough for him to say, God damn it, I'll take it. You can do what you want to do. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who's going to say that. I mean, how many people have a price today? And it's a whole lot lower than that. But see, people in certain positions, if they pay well, they'll take it. How else are you going to get houses and mansions and stuff? It's all about living a good life. And if other people have to take the heat, so be it. So the political system that people love, black people love, they always try to, you notice how they always try to tell us to get out the vote. And I'm not even saying that we should vote or should not vote. But I only vote just to be counted as the black person, not because I believe I'm voting for somebody who's actually going to win, because I usually vote third party anyway, just to cash a vote. Excuse me, cast the vote. And I already know they already have their man pre-chosen. So because of that, when JFK was shot down, see, I'm sure we've all heard the stories of Sam Giancana helping the vote, get some votes in for JFK from his father, but JFK didn't know about it. That's what they say. If that's the case, he was elected with the system, just like Lyndon Johnson. He became a senator because he cheated. And you can see pictures of it. I might show it when I get to that part of the situation. That was cheating. Now, when a president gets shot out of office, that's cheating. This is by people who don't give a damn about the rules. People who say, damn the system. This is what I was trying to tell Tyrone last night. They say, who cares about the system? I don't care if the people voted the man in office tonight or not. We don't like this guy. We don't like how he's running things. So we're getting this guy out of here. They didn't wait for an election. They could have. Now, if you saw that movie Executive Action that I recommended people get, they said, hey, man, we tried to do everything, embarrass him and all that kind of stuff, but he's still popular. So they had to take him out. And the reason why they took him out the way they took him out is because you need witnesses. Not too many, but just enough to verify some things so they can volunteer it. And obviously for those who want to verify some other things, that's where they come in and do the cleanup, killing witnesses. I'm going to get into all that. So the political system was bypassed when JFK got killed. And that's a problem. If people want to believe in the system, that's why I try to tell Tyrone, I said, listen, man, there's a reason Asians and Indians, rich so-called minorities, don't give a fuck about voting. And then he tried to nitpick. Are you trying to tell me that Asians don't vote? I'm sure that I pointed out, I said, I'm sure that there are some Asians that vote. I mean, come on. But by and large, you don't see people trying to pander to the Asians to say, get out and vote. You don't see people trying to pander to East Indians saying, get out and vote. They don't give a damn about that because they have the money. They have the education. Once you have the money and the education, you buy influence. That's it. Because when you have money, you have property. Black people, by and large, don't have property. So that's why we don't have the power. Once you get property as a whole, you have to deal with government, but that's what happens. So, you want to nitpick on that. I get the feeling that, number one, I know he's military, and like that brother Sanchez with his crazy kooky show, he's military too. That's why you got to beware of these black guys who are military coming speaking this propaganda. You know what I mean? Because that's who they work for. They get a pension check from the military. They're still under contract, no matter what you want to say. So when they say they hate JFK, that gives you an idea whose side they're on. Because there's a reason why black people, since the 60s, they always held up Martin Luther King, JFK, and RFK's picture. Because they knew those guys were killed because it had something to do with the black man, in a sense. JFK helped the black man out to a degree. And Lyndon Johnson was coerced or kind of forced into carrying on some of JFK's civil rights acts and all that kind of stuff because, once you kill the man, you just can't say, we're dismissing everything he did. Because then it looks like, oh, yeah, we definitely got you now. We know you did it now. So that's why they still had to play it off a little bit. And then they killed his brother, of course. You think it's a coincidence. Like I said, one time is a coincidence. Too many times, it's a conspiracy. His brother's running for president, about to get in there. They didn't want him in there. So they said, let's get him before he becomes president. That way it won't have to look like a big conspiracy. 2 Kennedy presidents shot down. But damn it, 2 Kennedy brothers shot down. I mean, that's bad enough. And nobody really did anything because there's all sanctioned hits. And I'm going to show that the Warren Commission, Earl Warren, who was put in charge of the commission, this is the same guy who swore JFK into office and spoke at his eulogy. He's one of the co-conspirators. He's sanctioned. This is the Chief Justice. And if you think that the Chief Justice of the country wouldn't be involved in this kind of stuff, maybe people tricked them. Who knows? Maybe they say, hey, man, because part of this thing is they trick people into believing that you got to cover it up because there might be a nuclear war. That was the trick, to get people who weren't a part of it on board. And the other trick is Castro, the Cubans. I'm going to break it down as to why they didn't do anything. And the mob. So these are all tricks. It was a coup. Who benefits from political assassinations? Well, we know Oswald didn't benefit. See, that's how you have to look at these things. Oswald didn't benefit at all because the man didn't last the weekend. So that's how you know he didn't benefit. So, I mean, if he gets killed, then what? I mean, he had his opportunity to say, I killed the man, and this is why I did it. Instead, he says, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You know? Yeah, never saw an Asian at the polls, see? I can't recall having ever seen any either, except maybe one of those rare Asian liberal activists, you know, who wants to keeps talking about Vietnam and all that kind of stuff. But Oswald had his opportunity to present his grievances to the world. I mean, the spotlight was on him. He could have said, you damn right I did it, and this is why. Anytime somebody else commits a political act of violence, and then the spotlight is on them, they say, this is why we did it. If you recall when the Black Panthers were out, even though I'm sure we don't remember them when they were actually out, I'm sure we saw film footage, and the Black Panthers said, we want this, we want that, and whatever else. Nation of Islam, what the Muslims want. Any other terrorist type group from the 60s and early 70s. They said, this is what we want. We want freedom for this country, blah, 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 so on and so forth. They're telling you, they're telling the government, they're telling the world, this is what we want. Now, again, an assassination is political. So where were Oswald's politics? They want you to believe that Oswald just happened to have gotten a job. People hooked him up with that job, by the way, and heard that the president was coming by and said, you know what? I think I'm going to take him out, you know? I mean, it doesn't work like that. And then he says, you know what? He'll be rolling by, and he never practiced shooting a moving target from that height and that angle, but somehow he pulled it off. But see, you'll find out the setup comes about because this is why he was chosen, because he was a Marine. Because then that's the excuse to the public, to present to the public that, hey, this is how, and this is why the man was able to commit the assassination. See, if he had been a regular person, not in the military, then all of a sudden, people would ask the question, how could he pull that off? Where did he go to practice? Which also brings up another situation where they set Oswald up. There's no doubt that there were people setting Oswald up before the assassination, and especially as it got closer. And that's why when you hear the real truth, they'll never actually bring out the real truth. Everyone will be dead. What's going on, Apex? Everybody will be dead who's involved. George Bush already went down. I think Ruth Payne, as old as she is, she's still alive. And if the price or the reward is living long, well, Ruth Payne hasn't aged too well. Oswald's wife is still alive, or ex-wife. She hasn't been speaking. These are people who are involved in setting the man up. Ever since JFK, all the presidents have been puppets. That includes Lyndon Johnson. That includes Nixon, Ford, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama, and yes, Donald Trump. People keep trying to make it look like Donald Trump is independent. You got to take his age into consideration when you talk Donald Trump. and his privileges of being pretty wealthy. So when you realize his age, that's when you have to realize, oh, this man goes way back. So they try to pull a trick on us with Obama and make it appear as if Obama came out of nowhere because he was younger than these other people, especially younger than Biden. But these people are puppets. You saw what Obama didn't do during his presidency, but we saw what he did do or spoke on behalf of, whether it was attacking Africa or congratulating people on being homosexuals. That was his mission. And he told us to worry about ourselves. That's what he told us. I've been behind the fence on the knoll. I've been there too. And I was saying to myself, I'd be very concerned about taking a shot from there if I was an assassin. But people did say there were footprints in the mud and cigarettes. See, if they would have had DNA testing back then, they wouldn't have left cigarettes. But Bowers said that there were puffs of smoke from back there. A whole lot of people said there were puffs of smoke. I mean, something's up, man. Something had to be from there. And I've been behind. You keep going to the right, and you get on the overpass with the train tracks. Some people suggested shots there, but there were people clearly on that. So that couldn't have happened. But it sounds like there was a trunk in a car. People may have gotten into the trunk of a car after they did it, and then just hid out in the trunk, and then they drove them out later on. That's what it sounds like from things I've read. That hasn't been confirmed, but when you talk about Lee Bowers seeing cars and people were talking on the radio, driving around slowly around that area before the assassination, that's what it sounds like, because these guys had to disappear fast because everybody went to the knoll, but they didn't find anybody except people who were claiming to be Secret Service agents. But the Secret Service claims that they didn't have anybody up there. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to play a couple of videos, short ones. And this is just showing that Earl Warren signing JFK into office, or swearing him.
To the President-elect by the Chief Justice of the United States. Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear. I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear. That you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. And will, to the best of your ability. And will, to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help you God. So help me God.
Now, that's exactly what he was doing, defending and protecting the Constitution of the United States, while everybody else around him, CIA, they don't give a damn about the Constitution. They were up here selling drugs, distributing drugs in the country, still are. And this guy, Earl Warren, looked this man directly in the face, swore him in. And later on, this guy helped to cover up his assassination, which means he must have approved unless he got tricked into helping cover it up. But I was just reading the book on Jack Ruby, Who Was Jack Ruby by Seth Cantor. And that's why it's good to have a whole bunch of different books, because when you read different books from different perspectives, you get to see a fuller perspective. And Seth Cantor, he was a witness that Ruby was at the Parkland Hospital. And the Warren Commission tried to shoot that down. He explains how they shot it down and how what he was saying was the truth. And he even provided the evidence, such as phone calls, and which were able to be traced back. And he was able to show that his timing of what he had witnessed, as far as Jack Ruby being at Parkland, was correct. That's why you see in a lot of movies and documentaries that Jack Ruby was there and playing at the Magic Bullet. Now, Seth Cantor, see, he wasn't just a regular witness to Jack Ruby being at Parkland. He knew Jack Ruby. See, so when he knew him, he's not going to just run into somebody who could have resembled him. He knew who the hell he was looking at. But the Warren Commission, they tried to dismiss that. Anything that pointed to Jack Ruby and his background, that's what that whole book was about. And I'm glad I did the video with the book, because I actually forgot I had that book, but I was reading it. That's what that whole book was about. Who was Jack Ruby? And he did a good job of explaining who Jack Ruby was. Mobster, pimp, even homosexual. That's right. Payoff man to the Dallas Police Department for the mob. And he was an FBI informant. And worked for Richard Nixon. So, yeah, everything is a rich man's trick. That's not bad, but they don't tell the entire story. Which is that's what you got to watch out. What's their bottom line? You know? They don't really tell it all. But Jack Ruby was a pimp. You know? And he was a homosexual. That's what they show. He lived with the guy, George Senator. And what is a grown 50-something-year-old man doing living with another 50-something-year-old man? And they said his place was filthy. And they would find, I don't know, I just like seeing the details. They would find soiled clothing. You know, but when he goes outside, he dresses to a T and likes to present himself as clean. But here we go. Let me play this scene from Oswald. And with this, you can get an idea of his state of mind.
And I told him I did not believe that a bone could do all of that.
Journalist Richard Dudman spotted a police officer and a deputy sheriff. An agent joins them. He removes the bullet.
Just as a side note, when this lady said bone, I guess in French, they had penis.
And I told him I did not
Pinsai.
could do all of that.
Journalist Richard Dudman spotted a police officer and a deputy sheriff. An agent joins them. He removes the bullet and pockets it.
Okay, and according to your Warren Commission testimony, you saw where a shot had hit the turf on the south side of Elm Street?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that the shot had caught the manhole cover at the corner?
The concrete of the manhole cover, yes.
Okay.
And the funny part is, when I went to Dallas, that bullet mark is still on the concrete of the manhole cover. And even though I already knew that, but somebody happened to be on the scene and pointed it out to me to show me anyway. Wonder why they didn't remove that.
That afternoon, after Officer Tippit was killed, they took a suspect into custody.
Now, I'm sure you people know who this guy is. This is Roger Craig. He is key because he witnessed another Oswald running from the grassy knoll down to a Nash Rambler car. And I always have to look these things up because obviously this is before most of our times. So when we see a Nash Rambler, we don't know what the hell that is because that's a brand that still, I guess, went out of fashion. But I think the logo looks kind of like a Cadillac logo, I think. I don't know if that's related to it. So I kind of like seeing it for what it was, you know? So something similar to this. But I think it was more blue color. You know, put yourself in a state of mind so you can kind of get an idea of these kind of cars that they had. So he's key because he sees Oswald getting into a car to escape, if you will, the crime scene. But the official story was that Oswald took a bus, then he took a cab, then he walked to the theater, but before doing that, shot a cop. But how can this man have seen Oswald go in another direction? And that's where the double comes into play. Now, the double, there's no doubt that people were trying to impersonate Oswald to set him up. But in case people don't want to believe this guy, this is why they put this video together and they showed as he speaks, whatever he's talking about, he was right there. And they have the footage to show that what he says was happening. So he's not crazy. He's not seeing things. He's not misremembering, you know, like a lot of people might want to say. He was there.
And I was thinking about this man getting away from me.
This is the man that got into the Green Rambler.
The Green Rambler. And I called Captain Fritz at his office and gave him a description of the man I saw get into the Rambler. And he told me, and I quote him, "It sounds like the suspect we have in custody. Come on up and take a look at him." So I went out and got in my unmarked car and drove to the City Hall, went directly to Captain Fritz's office. And we went into Captain Fritz's inner office, and the man was sitting in a chair behind a desk. And there was another gentleman. I assumed he was one of Fritz's people because he had the white cowboy hat on, which was the trademark at that time of the Dallas Homicide Bureau. And
that's Billy Lovelady right there, the guy that they used to say was Oswald, standing in the entrance of the book depository. But as you can see, that's Billy Lovelady right there. They don't look alike.
Fritz turned to me and said, "Is this the man you saw?" And I said, "Yes." And it was. It was. So he turned to the suspect and he said, "This man saw you leave." At which time the suspect became a little excited. And he said, "I told you people I did." And Fritz said, "Now take it easy, son," talking to the suspect. He said, "We're just trying to find out what happened to you." He said, "What about the car?" I didn't say station wagon. He said, "What about the car?" At which time the suspect leaned forward and put both hands up on the desk and said, "That station wagon belongs to Mrs. Payne. Don't try to drag her into this." Then he leaned back and very disgustedly said, "Everybody will know who I am now."
See, that's the thing right there. Don't try to drag her into it. Everybody know who I am now. Now, who was this guy? Apparently he was undercover and tricked into this. Now, I really don't want to get into the double too much because that's going to confuse people, but his story doesn't jive with the official story, but his story tells you something else. And there's a scene where the former Dallas Police Chief Jesse Curry confirms this story because he says that there were reports that Oswald escaped in a station wagon driven by a Negro. And that Negro, let me see if I can show you his face. This guy right here, Mexican guy. They say he was probably involved in one of the shooters. And they say he didn't like Kennedy because Kennedy, now when you see this man's pictures, as you see it, and this is laughable. He says he didn't like Kennedy because Kennedy was giving the black people too much. And now you can see why when people saw Oswald escaping in a van being driven by a Negro. I mean, you see this guy, goddammit, that's what I'm gonna be thinking too. I mean, what the hell else? This is why these Hispanics are funny, man. Man look like a Negro. I mean, what the hell else would he be? But this is how they do it.
Now, this was not a brag. I know it's been blown up to be a brag in the Warren Commission. This was not a brag. This was a man that
He was
gets in a
embarrassed
building
about
at night, you know, after it's locked. This is like somebody who's trying to steal something and you catch him at it.
He was embarrassed about it.
Or disgusted that he had blown his cover or been caught or something. You know, it wasn't a brag.
You got to keep in mind, Oswald was 24 years old and being controlled by guys much older than him and more experienced. So now this sequence I'm going to show, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen this documentary or the footage, what it shows is why they paraded him before the press. It's just like Osama bin Laden. They have to show the public. They have to give you a face. They have to give you a name. And they wanted the man to speak. And they knew that he would not blow his cover before the public. Because as you're going to see, all the footage of him that they allowed the people to have and see, he stayed undercover. He was confident because he's like, okay, I'm still continuing my mission, the other mission that he had. So he felt, okay, well, they're going to come rescue me pretty soon. But then as you see, as time went on, that's when he started realizing, God damn it, they're saying I killed the president and I killed a cop. And nobody's coming to help me. Then, yeah, keep in mind, at the age of 24, now he's saying to himself, God damn, this shit is real. And they're really leaving me to hold the whole bag.
Did you shoot the president? I didn't shoot anybody. No.
We just heard Oswald who said he did not shoot anybody. I'm being pummeled here. Being pummeled very heavily.
I didn't shoot anybody, sir. I haven't been told what I'm here for. You have a lawyer? No, sir, I don't.
Now you see how confident he sounds. Now in this scene, they had taken him to the photo lineup. And he was the only one wearing what he was wearing and looking like he was looking at everybody else. It was totally different. And now he's starting to realize, hey, man, something ain't right. See, now he's complaining.
I've been photographing the teacher, and now they're saying you're recording line up. Among these men, that one will be kicked out. Right?
With the murder.
So you see his face change.
As he is led from the.
And his demeanor's changing now because he's like, this is some heavy duty shit I'm in now.
The police headquarters in Dallas, perhaps being transferred now to the county jail. Let's switch down and see if we can pick up word of it.
Jail office here, and will now be taken to the police show-up room. And our cameras are being moved there now. I'll leave that.
He's being moved down to the basement assembly room.
Keep moving. Stay back.
It's too bad all this shit wasn't in color. But, I mean, they had color shit. I mean, the local Dallas station at the time, 1963, they had color. But a lot of the stations didn't switch to color, even though they could have. But I think it could have been helpful that it was in black and white to the conspirators, because now when everybody looks at it, you see, damn, that's the olden times, you know? black and white. But then when you see the late 60s in color, then I can't really relate, but I can better understand what's going on because it's in color. But this black and white stuff is way back in the day. Now I watched Oswald now. Now they realize, I'm in deep now.
He'll be taken down to the basement assembly room where he will confront the assembly of press gathered here at the police station for the past 10 hours or so of interrogation.
Jack Ruby. He was stalking the man, but he was paying off all the Dallas police officers from mob money. And you got to keep in mind the Dallas mayor at the time, Cabell, JFK fired his brother from the military. Lyndon Johnson's from Texas. So as well, so you got to keep all that in mind. Everybody didn't mind helping to get rid of the guy. But the cover-up came from the government strictly because they still had to cover it up in Washington too.
I positively know nothing about this situation here. Well, I was questioned by a judge. However, I protested at that time that I was not allowed legal representation.
So he said he wasn't allowed legal representation. And the reason why he wasn't allowed is because they knew this man wasn't going to make it through the weekend.
During that very short and sweet hearing, I really don't know what the situation is about. Nobody has told me anything except that I'm accused of murdering a policeman. I know nothing more than that, and I do request.
He said he was accused of murdering a cop. I know nothing more than that. You would think by that time he would have heard that the president got killed too, though.
For someone to come forward to give me
because the president's in town. So I try to see it from all angles. The president's in town. They said, "Oh, well, you killed the cop." You see all the press. I mean, that's not exactly, if you just killed a cop, you ain't gonna get all that press. So something's up. He was still undercover though. He had to keep his cover, but he's breaking down. He's cracking.
a legal assistant.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet.
See, the fact that he said, "I have not been charged with that," that's what always makes me say that's a weird thing to say, as opposed to, "Damn, the president got killed." That's what I would have said, But that's why I'm like, you can't totally rule out that he was doing something. I mean, his actions show that he was doing something. Either scenario, whether it's the Nash Rambler or the taking the bus scenario and going to the theater, he was into something one way or the other.
First thing I heard about it was when the newspaper reporters in the hall asked me that question.
You have been.
Somebody said what?
Sir?
You have been.
Somebody said what? Okay, we ain't hearing that. Okay.
What did you do in Russia?
A policeman hit me.
That was Oswald. Lee Oswald, who was charged with the murder of the President of the United States. Less than 2 hours after the presidency.
See, we don't know if the man was totally innocent or if he was involved but didn't shoot and they just left him holding the bag. That's what's still unclear, because you can get set up by being involved and you can get set up for not being involved.
Shot less than 1 hour after a Dallas policeman was shot and killed in the downtown area. Oswald first was charged with killing the policeman. Officers say they have an eyewitness to that shooting. After further questioning, he was formally charged with the president's death. Oswald has admitted nothing.
Here comes Oswald down the hall again.
You find that rifle just as fast as you people have been getting, but I emphatically deny these charges.
Oswald has hustled
See his demeanor now. He's like, now he realizes, God damn it, this is serious. Ain't no turning back, and they're getting me for this shit. So that's why he's breaking down. Now he realizes the setup is there.
He says he has nothing against anybody. He has not committed any act of violence. Oswald makes this claim as he's hustled from the interrogation room through a doorway, down an elevator, up an elevator into his jail cell.
I'd like some legal representation. These police officers have not allowed me to have any. I don't know what this is all about. I work in that building. Were you in the building at the time? Naturally, if I work in that building, yes, sir. Back up, man. Come on, man. No, they're taking me in because of the fact that I live in the building. I'm just a patsy.
Of course, that was the famous line, I'm just the patsy. That's when he realized, okay, forget my cover. I mean, now they're putting this shit on me. So he's like, fuck it, I'm talking. And after this, that's when you don't get to hear from the man again. Because now the people know that the co-conspirators, they know, okay, this man is about to start talking.
And here comes Lee Harvey Oswald. His back is to you. You can't quite see him. His face is still...
Basic fundamental hygienic rights, I mean, like a shower and the door.
Before he's pushed into a door for questioning, he said he would like certain basic fundamental rights, including the right to take a shower. Now, of course, we don't know if he's deprived of this privilege that he calls a right. Do you mind if we shout a question at him without stopping him?
No question, no way. No question at all. The more you upset him, the more difficult it is for us.
All right. We want to do whatever you want us to do. So if you say no questions.
If you go beyond the door.
See, now he's saying asking him questions makes him upset. Oswald upset.
Back up as far as you can against that wall. Can we call that the second part of the interrogation? No. Don't want you calling out nothing.
Let's make it clear we have all agreed with the chief that we will not ask Oswald any questions.
We want to cooperate with you, gentlemen.
The press man said you can't ask him any questions because once Oswald said I'm just the patsy, right there, that told the planners he's about to crack. He's about to tell what the hell he was doing, and that would blow the whole shit up. So that's why they had to shut him up.
If we have to, we may have to ask you to get back beyond this door and say.
Here is Lee Oswald, the ex-Marine accused of killing President Kennedy.
We interrupted the proceedings at the White House to go to the Dallas jail and are going to restore some help from there.
Oswald's face is rather badly bruised. Police explained yesterday that there was a sharp scuffle when he was arrested in the Dallas theater.
Reporters back away from.
There were no questions put to Oswald by reporters. We agreed to request from the chief of police that we would make no effort to question him here this morning.
He could say it, however, as you saw, Oswald went by and had nothing to say. He's gone into the homicide.
The subsequent events when John Kennedy attempted to drive in an open car through the town where General Cabot's brother was mayor.
The Dallasites kept saying it just can't be true. Mayor Earl Cabot, as he rushed away from the hospital. Mayor, I would think that the feeling is that in the broad moral sense at least.
Since his brother was in the military, you got the Allen Dulles brothers, CIA. This mayor is not innocent. He's knows about high command in the U.S. government. And as you can see, he doesn't look like he's overly concerned or doesn't give a damn. And in fact, he kind of looks like, good, we got his ass.
All of us share in what has happened here today, but this city, as you say, is not a city where things like this are done. The minority, it's a loud one, and today, this tragic thing that happens really once in a lifetime.
This is a guilt that doesn't belong to a few. This is the guilt of the nation. We're all responsible. This could only be the act
of a deranged mind.
There is no question whatsoever in my mind that every possible security precaution was taken.
All possible security precautions were taken by our police force on their own.
I don't want to point my finger at anyone in a case like this.
Still, this is not the time to single out for criticism any individual or any group. Yet, the irrational act of a single man. I can't point my finger. This is no time to point fingers. This is a time of prayer and sober reflection. We all have to search our souls with reference to what we might have said or done to have brought about a calamity of this kind.
This is not a time to point the finger at anything except just the conscience of the nation.
And now the police chief in Dallas says that he was informed by the FBI last night that they interrogated Oswald 2 weeks ago in Dallas, but he does not know the results of that interrogation, why it was ordered, or, he says, or neither was he advised that the interrogation had taken place until last night.
Is there any indication from the investigation to date that would indicate motive on the part of Mr. Oswald?
So far as I know, there is no indication of it. Are you satisfied that you've got him traced directly from the scene of the shooting to his arrest? Yes. Can you account for all the time? You mean from the scene of the presidential assassination to the time? No, we haven't got all of it. How much time is involved in there? How big a lapse of time? Roughly 45 minutes, I believe. You still don't know. He doesn't have a car. It's too far to walk. I understand that he does not have a car.
Do you have anything other than circumstantial evidence right now?
Well, we have some physical evidence.
Can you tell us anything about that physical evidence?
No, sir, I wouldn't. I don't think I should discuss that.
Do you feel that this case is proceeding as efficiently as you would like it to proceed, or are some doubts beginning to grow as to whether this, in fact, is the man?
No doubts are beginning to grow, but it's a very difficult investigation.
Are the resources being applied to this investigation adequate, in your opinion?
Yes.
Would you describe them for us?
We're just using all means possible in the scientific investigation. Of course, these are interrogation and scientific, other scientific aids outside of physical evidence.
Now, this former police chief, like I said, the bulk of the police department was corrupted under the payroll of the mob, and CIA, they pimped the mob. And they use the mob to distribute drugs and control crime and give it up to the higher ups. That's why I say you watch that movie Black Caesar, or Little Caesar rather, from the 30s. And watch it, pay attention closely to it. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Even a movie from back then, just like Scarface, will tell you everything you need to know if you pay close attention. But see, this guy was innocent. And this is why what they do is they don't mind presidents being puppets, because if you can corrupt the body, it doesn't matter who the leader is, because this guy was oblivious to what the hell was going on for the most part, but it's a damn shame. And this guy said that Oswald was being driven away by a Negro CIA operative. I mean, right here. Now, this man does not look like a Negro. I don't know what a Negro is. Look at that. He might be Mexican, but goddamn it, Mexicans got black in them, but he hated black people. He hated himself. Now you see less Mongoloid activity and more Negroid activity in this guy, but he was a CIA killer. Now, that's enough with this video. Let me show this one. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this because George Bush won. I mean, this man was deep. This is the most sinister president in history. This man was deep in the CIA.
After a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy, after a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy, after a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy, long before he arrived in Washington, Gerald Ford's word was good. During the 3 decades of public service that followed his arrival in our nation's capital, time and again, he would step forward and keep his promise, even when the dark clouds of political crisis gathered over America. After a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy, our nation turned to Gerald Ford and a select handful of others to make sense of that madness. And the conspiracy theorists can say what they will, but the Warren Commission report will always have the final definitive say on this tragic matter. Why? Because Jerry Ford put his name on it, and Jerry Ford's word was always good.
And that's why they made Ford president, so he can get Nixon off of any and all crimes against the United States. But Bush is a sinister figure. Here's John McCain. I'm sure a lot of people have seen these. Show it again, put it in context, since this is what this broadcast is about tonight. And then you notice how John McCain didn't seem to live too much longer after this. Whatever you want to say, I'm just saying.
When Senator Obama was first asked, he said, any place, any time. Any time. The way Barry Goldwater and Jack Kennedy agreed to do before the intervention of the tragedy at Dallas. Where's this dear? Tragedy at Dallas.
So I hate when people say that. Anyways, he called, that was the right video, but the wrong way. But he called it an intervention. So he called the JFK assassination an intervention. Let's see. Boy. Damn. Nothing but bullshit coming up. The act of interfering with the outcome or course, especially of a condition or process, that's to prevent harm or improving function. The interference of a country in the affairs of another, the occurrence in which a person has a problem. So intervention, so if you want to kill a president as a government and you intervene, that's their way of saying it was important, that they had to do it. That's what they want to say. Let me just show this little video. This is as he was going to Fort Worth, and Connolly, I'm sure he was involved too. And as well as LBJ, they already knew what the hell was about to happen. And Connolly, John Connolly, this is what a lot of people don't realize. When they were getting shot in a limo, John Connolly said, my God, they're going to kill us all. Again, you got to put yourself in his position. If you're part of a plot and you knew they were going to take Kennedy out, you're riding in a limo with him, and you hear the gunfire, why would you say, my God, they're going to kill us all? The only reason he would say that is because he got shot. And at that point, he's like, God damn, my God, they're going to kill us all. Except for JFK, they're just going to kill us all just to get him. That's what the hell he meant.
Tribute to the president. Friday morning,
Poor quality video, too.
It's 8:45 and the weather is misty.
See, Lyndon Johnson playing it off. He already knew what was going down. That's how sinister people are, man. Play that shit off. That's why he was happy, because he's like, God damn it, in a few hours, I'll be in charge.
In In spite of the weather, a large and exuberant crowd turns out to see and hear the president. President Kennedy is in good spirits, too. Tells his audience that Mrs. Kennedy is busy organizing herself, and adds, of course, she looks better than we
See
do.
that Johnson's look.
Thus begins the last day of his life. Tells his audience that Mrs. Kennedy is busy organizing herself.
See that stare? We all know those kinds of faces. Those are the kind. Come on, man, with this bullshit right here. Those are the kinds of faces that stare. That's why I put that on the thumbnail. One of these looks. You could see that face, even with that microphone covering it. He's like, "Motherfucker, I'm about to get this job, and your ass is done. We'll see the end of you today." Now I wonder how Johnson would have felt if they would have called that shit off. Even John Connolly, he has more of a nervous look. Like, my God, I feel bad that this man is going to go. While he feels, I can't wait. Do it now.
And adds, of course, she looks.
See that nervous look on Connolly's face?
Thus begins the last day of his life. He will live less than 4 hours from this moment.
Those days look so weird, too.
President Kennedy's entrance as he returns to his hotel for a breakfast with the Fort Worth Chamber.
Now, let's keep looking at Johnson. This is poor quality video, though, but look at that look. Fake smile, but those eyes, they always tell the tale. He has that look like he's trying to act like he's happy, but he can't wait to anticipate that this man is about to bite the dust and he's about to become president. And he doesn't really look sad. He looks like he can't wait. And like, you motherfucker, your time is over. So enjoy it while you can. See, I'm good at reading body language. A lot of people are too. And that body language tells it all. We've all seen people with that kind of look. Look at that. It's like he's sizing them up, trying to get one last look at him before he goes,
The breakfast party awaits the arrival of Mrs. Kennedy.
That's enough with that. We already know what happened after that. Now, what I want to do, let me see what's going on in here. What I want to do after that, sheep tipping is bad, okay? I want to show this website. Everybody can go on this if they want to. If you can't get a hold of that Harvey and Lee book, this website has been up for a while. And this man put together the book on his own dime. And my man did the extensive research. But I don't want to get into the doubles and all that kind of stuff. And he shows the evidence that there were different Oswalds, but I don't really want to get into that one too deeply. What I want to do, really, I want to use this to show you the evidence. This Mexico, when you get the book, the Mexico City part, that's a tough read. It's very confusing. But the main thing is, as long as you know that the CIA was lying about that, then you don't really have to get too deep into it. Let me start with this since this is new. Let's see what they have here. Let's see, when they had him in New Orleans, this is all an act. This was part of his cover. And this is where the Jim Garrison, Clay Shaw, David Ferrie comes into play. They set Oswald up, and all these Cubans and Latinos, they were there just to help him along. But he was being double-crossed. And the Cubans, you got to keep in mind, those people were involved with Bush because Bush was in the CIA off of Cuba. And these same Cubans, they call them anti-Castro Cubans, they were involved in the Watergate scandal. And Richard Nixon knew that. That's why he tried to blackmail the CIA. And that's why they eventually got Nixon out of office. And there's something else too. New Orleans. Oswald went to the Civil Air Patrol. And guess who else was there? Barry Seal. Yeah, that Barry Seal. And of course, he knows Bush. And of course, Barry Seal was a big time drug dealer. And as we know, or as you should know, the CIA, I know they probably don't like it, but this is the truth, man. They distributed the drugs in the country. And guys like him, they helped do that. The Colombians and all those kind of people, they don't do that. It's these people. And this all leads up to the Iran-Contra stuff. And they've convinced so-called conservatives that selling drugs and killing people was right as long as they were able to do their cause. All this stuff is all related up until today. So that was the shocking part, that they're all related with that, Barry Seal. And it goes to show that you just can't do business with the government, even when you're involved in the government. That's worse than doing business with the mob. I mean, at least with the mob, you could survive a little longer. But the CIA, they control the mob because they need them to distribute the drugs. And that's why the mob, every time they want to take over somebody's business sector, why do you think they do it? It's not because, and why do you think they're allowed to do it? It's because they pay people off and they're down with the government, the CIA. That's why with Sam Giancana, that's why that's not him. I don't know why they put that up there, but this is him. I don't know why. That's why the CIA is easy. See, he's a mob boss, as you know, or was. But the CIA, they know who these people are. They know what they're doing. They know why they use them. That's why they were able to get to them and take them out. Because the mobsters, they know that they can't do what they want to do when it comes to the CIA. They know when it comes to local police departments, it's not a problem because they're paid off and the CIA and the government has their backs. Now, of course, as we know, these people are Italians, they're foreigners. And of course, the other mobsters that control them all, the Meyer Lanskys of the world, they got the total international and the banking connection. So those guys will never get caught. That's why these guys had the protection. But of course, they had to deal with him. They'll deal with a mob boss. That's not a problem. CIA can take them out at any time. But see, they don't want to, they'll take them out, individual guys, but they don't want to stop their network because these guys help to distribute the drugs from coast to coast. This is what they're needed for. And the IRS, they tax you. Who's this guy? Chicago outfit. Probably shouldn't even show that. But the IRS, they tax you legally. And the mob taxes you in the underworld. That's why they call them the underworld. And it's all for the CIA. Because this is how, I mean, it's free money. They're crops, drugs, cheap to produce. The profits are insane. So this is what these guys are all about. And, like somebody always said, they use thugs, the rich, educated people use thugs to do their dirty work. Just like Saddam Hussein was a thug in Iraq to do Bush's dirty work. All of it's related. And Bush, too, even after he was out of office when his father died, he said, we will continue your mission. So look out for another Bush. This is another foreign mobster. If you notice, the Italians, you notice how they never intervene in Hollywood because they're off limits. If they're so powerful, how come they're not messing with Hollywood? They get making a movie out of this guy. Or did they do it already? Oh yeah, Jack Ruby also worked for Al Capone as well. Oh, this is 2015. This story. Probably not putting that together, but see, he got killed by the CIA too. He didn't get killed by the mob. But when they had to kill him, it seemed like a mob hit. And other mobsters like this guy, mobster of Florida, former mobster, of course, he's long dead now. He got to live because he shut up when they did an investigation in the 70s. He basically pleaded the fifth. So he got to live. When you make the money they make, and the IRS looks the other way, the government looks the other way, people are getting a piece of it. That's what it's all about. Now, the reason why the CIA want to take the Kennedys out, but when I say it was the whole government, because it took the whole government to cover it up. So if it took the whole government to cover it up, military included, TV included, that's the whole Illuminati system. If they all covered it up, that means they were all involved. But like I said, part of it, they could have tricked some people into saying, okay, well, nuclear war might take place. That helped some people out. So this guy was the New Orleans mobster, mob boss. And in New Orleans, that's where the first Italian organized crime network was out of. Now, this guy was born in Tunisia, but he's Italian, though. Obviously, Tunisia's right next to Italy. Just like to put that out there, just, Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. He was involved in stuff. Jimmy Hoffa, he was Polish, not Italian. A lot of people think he was Italian because his name sounds like it's Italian. But, the Rome used to run Europe, so a lot of people are going to have names that sound similar, but spelled differently. They got rid of this guy. This guy's been murdered. It's all related stuff. But they don't want the CIA or the country to know that the CIA is in bed with these guys. That's part of the reason why they had to cover these things up and get rid of the Kennedys, because the Kennedys, they were going after the mob. What's this right here? And a lot of people say it's ironic that they were going after the mob because their father. Hey, for all we know, maybe these were the Irish guys who are like, okay, we're in the White House now. So maybe we could bring our Irish people back to prominence and organized crime, because the Irish people, I think they were the first in organized crime. And then they started getting shut out by the Italians and the small hats. So I think, hey, maybe they could have used their position to do that. But, in this book right here, which I have not read, but I do have to read it, I'm sure I might learn a little something. They knew how this thing was organized. He even took this Carlos Marcello character and dropped him off, I think, in Venezuela somewhere, disrespecting the guy. Which he could, because Marcello is not from the United States. So when it comes to organized crime, when they say, oh, the mob killed Kennedy, that's not true. Because the mob, these are foreign guys. They don't kill mayors. They don't kill politicians. They don't even kill police. One reason is because they got them all paid off, judges and all these guys. They're all getting a piece. That's part of the reason why people support organized crime, even in these positions, lofty positions, because they pay well. And they're like, okay, well, they might kill a few people here and there, but as long as they don't kill a whole lot of people and disrupt everything, that's fine. That's the rationale. It's like this New Jersey governor just said illegal aliens can get driver's licenses. See, these people openly break the law. If you want a driver's license, but you don't know how to drive, they're going to say no. But if you're an illegal Mexican, and I assume it's only those people, they give you these fake credentials. Like I always told you before, they give them free housing. They give them a job. They give them everything they need. How come they are allowed to do this? Because that's what they want. And as you can see, they all break the law at will. There's too much money in organized crime, drug sales, and pimping. People aren't going to turn it down. So that's why all the politicians you see, or most of them, that's why you see they're always pretty rich, pretty wealthy. So the Kennedys, this is the thing. They had the best interests of the country at hand. They said, okay, we got to get rid of this organized crime. And as you know, Hoover never said that there was a mafia. He was totally against investigating these guys. And a clown like Hoover is one of the reasons why the mafia never was able to be busted. But the Kennedys, they were going to do that. So they kill JFK. And he's the attorney general. So they figured, okay, he can go too. He wasn't going to run for president, but then he runs. And he's close to winning. So they said, let's get rid of his ass before he becomes president. Because they really didn't like this guy. This guy was more hardcore than his brother. So the CIA, they didn't want the public to know that they're in bed with the organized crime. Again, this is why you can look up anybody, any mob, any place in the country and find out who the current mob boss is. We could all look that up. And over the years, I've always said to myself, how come the media knows who the mob boss is, what they control, their territory, what the hell they're making, but the FBI is playing stupid all the time? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but you know, what makes it make sense is the fact that they're all in it together. And everybody wants a good source of income that's free money. Even in the 80s with Miami drug wars, then the crack cocaine. I mean, you got to have scientists coming up with this. These aren't ghetto people that come up with these drugs. These are scientists. So they distribute these products onto the streets, man. They don't give a damn about the people. You need to control the people. So if you can control the people with drugs and get paid, so be it. As long as you don't touch them, it's cool. But see, all this JFK, these murders and stuff, these political murders, this is their world. This is the rich, super rich people who control things. This is their world. So Oswald was being set up almost from the beginning. But see, he was a young guy. He was just doing what he was told. And you can examine these documents later on. But see, this is why I recommend at least the website if you don't want to get the book. The book, believe it or not, has more detail than his website. But, excuse me. But if you don't want to get the book, this website is the next best thing. Now, see, he has actual documents. See, that's why anybody who says, and this guy had to pay a lot of this out of his own pocket. Anybody who says that this shit is bullshit, my man shows all the documents. He's interviewed people over decades. And when you are well versed in this JFK situation, then you will realize that what he has put together is the real deal. He doesn't go far enough in the end game as far as small hats and all that kind of stuff. Maybe, maybe some people still fear going too far. But there ain't no doubt about that. Oswald, as a little baby, was groomed and reared to be a spy. Now, the origins of where they got him from, that part people can't verify. I could speculate on where that may have happened. If he reared him from a baby, the CIA, we all know they did mind control experiments and a whole bunch of other things. And again, I say Star Wars, not this crap that's coming out in a couple of days or tomorrow. I'm talking about the originals up until the Revenge of the Sith, because Anakin Skywalker was discovered. He was made to be discovered, and he was created by the Emperor to penetrate the Jedi. And this is what Oswald was groomed and reared for the sole purpose of putting him into the Soviet Union, to penetrate the Soviet Union. And they had to have him reared as a baby up until adulthood and to go into the military. Because a lot of people talk about Trump in China or Trump in Russia. They know that these countries will get their intelligence apparatus together. And what they'll do is they'll research Oswald's background. And if they don't find that he had a history of being a so-called Marxist, they're going to say, okay, this guy's full of shit. So this is why and some people might find, man, this is unbelievable. But the truth is, he died when he was 24 years old. These guys were older. Alan Dulles and all these guys, they started the CIA. They were in the CIA before it was called the CIA. So you don't even need 2 decades to train this guy, because you rear him while he's very immature. He's 15 or so. He starts getting deeper into it. And you teach him Russian and all that kind of stuff. You set him up to do what he has to do. Now, some people might ask, once you get into all this, it's going to be crazy. But if you are well versed in it, you'll find that it's not too crazy, because he's not the only one who comes up with the 2 Oswalds. It's on the record. It's even in the Warren Commission that Oswald was in 2 places at the same time, which, how is that possible? This is why Gerald Ford said that, he said, we found no evidence of a conspiracy. That's to cover his ass in the future, because he's dead now. After they're all long gone, everybody involved, including Marina Oswald, then he could say, well, we didn't necessarily lie. A lot of these people, their descendants are probably not even going to tell it in the future, because they don't want to show that their family members were traitors. Now, this guy's just showing the money order. So he goes into great detail. This is the money order concerning the money order for the rifle, and showing how that was fake. And he does a good job. He does it with actual documents. Now, let me get into this part. See, I like this site because they show you the actual, what do you call it? Evidence. Now, this is when I said this is to show the photo when Roger Craig, the detective, said he saw Oswald running down the hill to get into a Nash Rambler. Now, as you can see, this guy right here, they had to blow it up because it was pretty small, but as you can see, he's coming toward in a white t-shirt, coming toward and away from the grassy knoll and getting into the Rambler. And as you can see, so you can see Roger Craig wasn't bullshitting. Now this is Officer Tippit. Anybody knows about this guy, you read deeply, this guy was a co-conspirator because he was desperately searching for Oswald when he shouldn't have been searching for Oswald. But he was searching for Oswald. Now, how could you be searching for somebody that you shouldn't know to look for unless you were involved? Now, before that, matter of fact, let me go to this, because this is, excuse me. This is his rooming house. I guess this guy just had a random lady pose. Now, I actually went to this place myself. There's nothing special about it, but like I said, the lady I was with when I went there, she was acting a little nervous. Like this shot, I got a great memory. This shot from across the street is like a intersection. It's like a gas station lot thing. So that's kind of where I took my picture from too. A lot of people do that. They turned it into a museum. I didn't see that when I went there. But yeah, on the side, I went close as I can. She stayed in the car. She didn't want to get out because she was nervous. She's like, oh man, what if people react in a crazy way? I said, man, when you travel far away and you go on an adventure, man, you got to get with it. Get out there and mingle. Now, this is his original location, which I also went to too as well. This is where they took the backyard photo. Now, another thing, see, he kept moving, and he actually lived around the corner from this house, which is where I also went to as well, as an apartment complex. I saw a lot of Mexicans there. They seemed friendly. But again, the lady was nervous. She's from the suburbs of New York, but, she always acts like she's a New York Cityer, and she was nervous, though. I wasn't nervous because I'm like, God damn it, I traveled a long way. I want to get all I can get. You know what I mean? But it's good that this is still standing, but everything that was pertaining to Jack Ruby is torn down. Say what you want to say about that. So I think Oswald lived on the top floor here. And same color. They gotta, the owners gotta make get the rent. So, but you still gotta rent it out and it has to stand. Hopefully the shit won't ever burn down, but this is where the backyard photos were taken. You can see the shit isn't, the structure isn't really all that sound. You can see the little depressions taking place, like it's about to collapse in on itself after a while. But it's here as of now. And see, way back here, there's an apartment complex. That's where he used to live at, and then he moved here, and then he moved to the rooming house. And see, I don't know if it's the people who live here. See, way back here, there's an apartment complex down the street. And this is where he took the backyard photo. See, these people don't mind going in on it. See, that's what I do. I want to get in on it. But the person I was with was a little scared. So if you want to go into some adventures, don't take any scared people with you. So I guess these are people taking modern pictures of it. No, I don't remember it looking like that. I guess they must have changed something around. I don't remember that looking like that. But okay, well, maybe that was it. But see, the fact that he had this rooming house showed that he wanted to get away from his wife because he was on a mission and he couldn't have them around. And at the same time, his wife was still with Ruth Payne. So he was being set up. But the whole point about the rooming house, and which goes back to Tippit, was that the fact that this lady, who I think this is the original lady, I think she died after giving her testimony to the Warren Commission because she witnessed something that they preferred that nobody saw. And that's when the police car, after the assassination, the police car came up, tapped his horn, waited, drove off as if they were supposed to pick up Oswald. See, so the man who wrote the Harvey and Lee book, Armstrong, he says that the fake Lee Harvey Oswald was the guy staying at this rooming house in a white t-shirt. But he was raised as a Lee Harvey Oswald. I don't want to get too deep into that because some people might say, boy. But you got to understand, you got to get deep into it and understand CIA operations and all that kind of stuff. Then you understand. That's why if they ever let you know, okay, it was a coup, they'll never tell you. They might tell you how Kennedy was killed, maybe, but they'll never tell you the whole shit, because the whole shit, people say, God damn. But CIA operations, smoke and mirrors. You're not supposed to know the background information. You're only supposed to know what they tell you. But Tippit, some people say Tippit was probably that cop that came to his rooming house to pick him up. Now you got to ask yourself a question. What was the cop car doing there? How did the cop car know that that's where Oswald was at when the word wasn't out yet? What were they there to see him for? That right there, that alone tells you conspiracy. Yeah, keep in mind, Dallas police, they're on the take with the mob. You don't want that out. Everybody's trying to protect their money. So if you could take out the president that's trying to mess up everybody's money, everybody's going to get down with it. So Tippit, they say that was his car to go out and pick Oswald up, but he didn't. But he was looking for him. Everything that he was doing suggested that he was looking for somebody. Now, see, this is the route right here. He says that Texas Book Depository, he took a taxi, then the bus, if that was the case. Then they showed the Tippit scene of the murder and all leading up to the Texas Theater, and Jack Ruby's place was right around the way. And the Warren Commission wanted to dismiss that. So this cop got shot, and they said there was a cop car parked. Witnesses clearly say that there was another cop car parked and watching this stuff. So, and it's right here. And there was another wallet found on the scene, which the evidence is there. But whoever killed Tippit, they wanted him dead purposely, not just to shoot him to stop it, but to shoot to kill, because they shot him in the head too. Now, this was the rendezvous place because Oswald had a piece of $1 bill on him, which in the spy world, especially then, you go there, meet up with people, and if they have the other half of the bill and the serial number, that's your rendezvous person, your contact person. When they say he went into the theater, he kept sitting next to different people as if he was, because he doesn't know what the contact person is going to look like. So he kept sitting next to them, waiting to see if they were going to say something, but they talk about a pregnant lady that was in the theater. And after that, she left. She was never seen before or seen again. And that's his actual piece of the $1 bill. So that was real. As you can see, these were released in '98 when Clinton was president. I think it was when he was president. Yeah, Clinton was president. And that's when they tried to make it look like they really cared. But it wouldn't take decades to keep releasing information because they still have some more stuff that they don't want to release. And they supposedly released some stuff under Donald Trump. It's to try to make it seem as if they really care, want to get to the bottom of it. They don't want to get to the bottom of it because it's too elaborate. It was a coup. Because if everybody got rewarded from it, just like in the NFL, when people make a bad call, but yet the Rams go to the Super Bowl, and then you say, oh, we got it wrong. Well, how do you reward the Rams? How do you undo the reward I mean, how do you reward the Saints? How do you undo the reward that the Rams got? Now, what if the Rams would have won the Super Bowl? And they just say, oh, well, we got it messed up, but the Rams got a Super Bowl out of it. So the conspirators, they got what they got out of control of the country. Jack Ruby even said that a whole new form of government has taken over. And upon reading the book, Who Was Jack Ruby, it's clear that they didn't want to take him to D.C. And that includes Earl Warren, the Chief Justice. You got the top lawman, judge, on the take and okaying a hit of the president. What does that say? You talk about, I mean, I don't even know the feeling how it must have been when this happened. But, you know, I imagine everybody was in shock and like, God damn. So this is another reason why they had to hurry up. They already knew what they were going to do with Oswald. This is why he had to meet at the theater, because they knew where he was going to be meeting at. This is why they knew to go there and get his ass. Because the whole key was kill the president. Some people claim that it was to pick up Oswald immediately, but he had to go to the theater. But the cop car went to the rooming house. They could have killed him then if they would have picked him up, but he either missed them on purpose or by accident. But whatever the case is, he got to the theater. And the whole goal was you capture a man fast. And the reason why you do that is because you don't want the public to be in a panic. Man, who killed the president? You know, that's what they'll be thinking. And then it has to be one man, of course, that they capture, and that's why they're quick to say this was the only guy involved. He did it alone. Why? Because when the man is seen to have done it alone, then that means there's no conspiracy, there are no other people at large, and there's no bigger plot behind this whole thing, which can get people nervous. So that's why they say it's one guy. And that's the same thing they did with 9/11 with Osama bin Laden. One man and his merry band of terrorists. That's why they show you the face. But you notice with Osama bin Laden, we never ever heard him say, I did this or I did anything. We heard other people saying that he did it, but we never got the evidence on bin Laden. And this is the same MO, and it just so happens that happened to fall under Bush 2. And Bush 2's cabinet was George Bush's, his father's buddies from back in the days. Coincidence, huh? It's coincidence or conspiracy with the whole 9/11 situation. Same MO. Because once it happens, I know we all know 9/11. We remember that. Once that happens, that was shocking. But all that did was set up for the United States to go to war, remove Saddam Hussein after a while, but occupy Iraq, take the oil, and surround Iran. And after a while, Iran's going to get it. Remember, they had that so-called Arab Spring when it was a whole bunch of succession of coups that just happened to take place. That was bullshit. But this is the theater. I even went here. It looks a little different. They plastered the walls over. I had my pictures, but damn, they're hard to find. But they plastered the walls over. The guy told me they did it because when the theater was first bought, I think it was bought by United Artists Film Company, and then they changed it around on the outside, and they plastered the walls over to so it won't be reminded as to what the theater represented. At least that's what they claim. But the bathroom still looked like the original bathroom. And that's the wallet they found on the scene. He had 2 wallets because they took one wallet out of his pocket when they arrested Oswald. And this was another one at the scene of the shooting. See, they planned everything in advance, but sometimes things can get overplanned. And this was a major mess up right here. So what they did was they just got rid of 1 wallet. That's how they did it. And then there were other scenarios, such as he and his wife going to places to cash checks, going to the shooting range, shooting at people's targets, going to a barbershop, calling people communists, going to car dealerships saying, hey, I'm about to get paid pretty soon. See, that shows you that they were setting Oswald up. I'm about to get paid. I'm test driving this car, driving wildly. And he says, I'm test driving the car because I'm about to come into a whole bunch of money pretty soon. That suggests that he would be under the employ of someone. And that goes to show that proves that in the planning process of this whole conspiracy, that they at least, if not wanting to pin it on Castro or Russia, they at least wanted the idea to be floated around. Then that way, people within the government and outside of the government will say, damn, this could be some serious shit, the prelude to a nuclear war. And that's why some people in the government, including some witnesses, may have changed their testimony because, you know, we're talking nuclear war. Nobody wants a nuclear war. At the end of the day, people say, hell, if 1 man got killed and we don't have to go through a nuclear war, okay, well, guess that 1 man had to be dead then. You know, that's how that worked. But that's how they get people to shut up. It's like when Johnson was recruiting, get my man's name. This guy right here, Richard Russell. Johnson was recruiting this guy to be on the Warren Commission. He didn't want to be on here because he liked Earl Warren, which is, he had good reason not to like him. And this guy right here, Hale Boggs, is Cokie Roberts' father. Now she's gone too. And we know about Gerald Ford, Allen Dulles. They say they put Gerald Ford, they made him president because he was part of the conspiracy. They knew he could be a trusted man. So they just threw him in as president real quick. But this guy, Lyndon Johnson, was trying to demand that this guy get involved in the Warren Commission. So they had to mix in conspirators with a couple of guys who were more stand up. But see, they had to trick them into saying that this whole thing might lead into a nuclear war by the fact that Lyndon Johnson said that to begin with. That alone shows that Lyndon Johnson was in on it. But see, it was designed to look like to people like him, Russell, and others who weren't involved in it to say, damn, we better just say Oswald did it, because if we try to blame the Soviet Union, then people will say we got to go to war. And people don't want to go to a nuclear war. You don't have time for that, you know? So that's why some people would say, oh, well, Cuba, Castro did it. Well, we know Castro didn't do it because Castro died recently. And after JFK got killed, nobody was really worried about Cuba anymore. So that's how we know that they didn't do it. And we know the mob didn't do it. They added some money, some financial support, maybe some logistical support, but they were being picked by the CIA. CIA, they know what the hell is going on. And of course, and I always tell people, the CIA, they are like the brains of the military. They tell the president what to do. They tell the National Security Council what to do, and they tell other people what to do. They tell the military what to do. They usually go in ahead of the military on any front and cause some problems, sabotage or whatever the hell, propaganda, whenever they want something done. And that's because these people, especially all these CIA people, especially the original guys, they're rich guys, highly educated. They want to keep what they created alive. Kennedy comes in, starts changing shit around, fires this man. Kennedy fires this guy for a mishap, and he's on the commission because this guy was in the plane. He was still well respected, Allen Dulles. And you see they got the airport act named after him. They get rewarded. Gerald Ford, you know, what better way to get rewarded? It doesn't matter how briefly his presidency was. God damn it. He's still on the charts as a president, you know? So they get rewarded for the coup. They all have to keep their secrets. And he died in a plane crash, Hale Boggs, because he was the guy who was a dissenter. He didn't really believe it all. And I think he didn't want to sign his name. And Richard Russell, I don't think he wanted to sign his name either to the final Warren report. And the whole Warren report was already set in place. It was designed to match Hoover's report before the Warren Commission was established. So that tells you that the whole shit was planned. And you'll see some videos where people say that Hoover didn't even know about it, but he just wanted to cover his ass. But see, that proves that Hoover was in on it. Him and LBJ, they were buddies and neighbors. So they knew what the hell was going on. It was a whole government coup down to the cover-up. So this is the whole thing. They'll never tell you this because this is a shame on the country. That's why you'll hear people like Nixon. He'll say, I don't want to talk about that Bay of Pigs thing because it'll be a shameful and unfortunate situation for the whole nation that they committed a coup in the U.S. To me, it's not shame. Well, coups happen, but it's not supposed to happen in the United States. But the cover-up and the sanction of the killing of a man, that's more shameful than anything else, because what it all boils down to is that these people were greedy. They were out for self. Now, as we know, Jim Garrison, he did his investigation in New Orleans. And the thing was, as far as I understand, a lot of it was not necessarily dead and done because it was only a few years later. But, you know, the co-conspirators, they were trying to make you forget about it. Just like when they killed Malcolm X, they wanted to make you forget about him. But people never forget about these guys. So Jim Garrison happened to stumble on something that his whole investigation opened up a whole new plot and a whole new cast of characters and connected other people together. So if it were not for him, a lot of people wouldn't have known about other people like David Ferrie and all these other guys. So this man shows you the actual evidence. That's why I like this site. Now, let me show you this. There was a time where they reopened the case in the 70s for the government, but then they had people, that Richard Blakey guy that you'll see in a lot of documentaries. He wants to say the mob did it. Well, if the mob did it, how come you didn't bring the mob to justice? So those are the questions you have to ask yourself. Anyway, here are a list of witnesses, because you got to have a cleanup for people who witnessed things and overheard things that don't coincide with the real story. And this is, to me, this is actually worse than killing Kennedy, because now you're going and you're attacking and killing innocent people who should not have been involved in it, but they became involved in it. And just because they wanted to do the right thing and report on what they saw, they get killed. You know, but they needed some people to say some things, because that's part of the reason why they shot him in public. Because if they would have shot him in Washington, D.C., in the White House or something, then people know it's a coup. So instead, they should have been in public so everybody could see and there could be witnesses and say, oh man, okay, Oswald did it, after they supposedly catch the guy. But again, like I explained earlier, Oswald didn't explain what he did. All right, so this is what I want to show. These are deaths of people who had something to do with the assassination. As you can see, this lady right here, Karen Coup, or whatever how you pronounce it, TV host daughter who was overheard telling of JFK's death prior to 11/22, murdered. That's a straight up murder. Jack Zangretti, I never heard him express foreknowledge of Ruby shooting Oswald. Gunshot victim, what are the odds of that? Eddie Benavidez, that was a Hispanic male who witnessed the Tippit shooting. He looked just like his brother, Domingo. They shot him in the head. Obviously, that was meant for this man. Coincidence? Don't forget that drug addict hooker who got caught in New Orleans. I forgot her name, but she was the drug addict. She said that Ruby and them, they were going to kill the president. You know, in the beginning, you see that in the beginning of the JFK movie. That's how you know the plot was taking place in New Orleans. And because Oswald was from New Orleans, so that's why they were setting all that up. But see, they like to go with the Carlos Marcello situation. Betty McDonald, former Ruby employee who alibied Warren Reynolds shooting suspect. Suicide by hanging in Dallas jail. Then there was Warren Reynolds himself who said that he saw something different. Then they shot his ass in the head. They said he saw another police car around the Tippit shooting, which showed that there was a conspiracy because there was not supposed to be another police car. But see, that's why when you go to the this website and they talk about the Tippit shooting, this is why he talks about another police car in the scene, because there are plenty of witnesses that said that there was another unmarked police car on the scene. And because of that, that's why this Warren Reynolds guy, he saw that, he testified to it after he got shot in the head. He survived. Then he changed the story. Then this guy, he says he thought to have information linking Oswald to Ruby, heart attack. Then, you know, they can cause heart attacks with things, but just for the sake of this, we'll say a heart attack is a heart attack. But at the time coincidence happens, then you know a heart attack is not just a heart attack. Husband of Ruby employee, new Oswald acquaintance, throat cut. That's murder. Bill Hunter, reporter who was in Ruby's apartment 2 days after it, accidental shooting by policemen, murder. Gary Underhill, CIA agent who claimed agency was involved, gunshot head to the head, real suicide. Hugh Ward, private eye working for Guy Bannister and David Ferrie, plane crash in Mexico. So they're taking care of everybody. It's like when those Chinese emperors that built that mound with all those clay guys in it. They killed everybody. They had them build it, and then they killed everybody involved. So nobody will tell where the shit is at. New Orleans mayor, passenger in Ward's plane that crashed. Got them all. Tessa Norton, Ruby employee, fatally shot. Guy Bannister, we know who that is. He worked for FBI, Hoover, and Carlos Marcello. Heart attack. Very fast. So they can induce that. Jim Coulter, reporter who was in Ruby's apartment. Blow to the neck. I think that was the guy with the karate chop to the neck. Blow to the neck is murder. Life magazine senior vice president who bought Zapruder film and locked it away. They say unknown, but he's dead. He died at 64. Guess he saw something he shouldn't have seen. C.D. Jackson, Life magazine senior vice president who bought Zapruder film and locked it away. Mary Pinochet, yep. JFK's special friend whose diary was taken by CIA James Angleton, who was half Mexican, half white, by the way. Murdered, matter of fact. I think I had the picture of her. They did a special on her. That's why I hate when I got things in some places. Anyway, I'll get back to these pictures in a minute. I don't even know if I should show some of these because you know how this place could be. But Mary Pinochet, matter of fact, let me do it like this because I like people to see the pictures of these people. That's what I like to do. And there's a special on her because oh, they got more pictures of her from Color Times. Oh, I think that's my first time seeing a color picture of her. Now they said this black dude right here killed her in a park, and there was a black. Matter of fact, as far as when I saw the report, the black his lawyer, black lady, I think she's still living. And what are the odds of these people just getting killed like this? Where is that at? I just saw it. So that's her getting killed in the park. These people straight up ruthless. So anyway, that's her, Pinochet, life fighter who told a JFK turning to the rear when shot in the throat. So this guy said JFK turned to the rear when shot in the throat. Died of cancer at 65 after, you know, cancer, heart attack. They could do that just like Jack Ruby. Tom Howard, Ruby's first lawyer in Ruby's apartment. A lot of people in Ruby's apartment. Heart attack. Pilot for Guy Bannister. Fatal fall. Texas employee clerk who interviewed Oswald. Hit by a bus. Damn. All these innocent people. This is why they can't tell you the truth, because all these people's family, they'd have a claim. He took away their relatives to cover up the shit. Dallasite who helped FBI trace Oswald's pistol. Natural causes. Natural causes, cancer, heart attack, that could be iffy. But it could also mean they did it. Yeah, this is the lady, Rose Sherman. Knew of assassination in advance, told of riding to Dallas with Cubans. Hit and run. Matter of fact, I think they said her head almost came off when she got hit and run. Now, this lady, I know everybody's familiar with her. You should be. So she was a filthy, filthy prostitute and heroin addict. And Jack Ruby was a gun runner, and he was also distributing drugs as well. David Ferrie, a lot of weirdos. This guy was a homosexual. And a lot of people familiar with this lady right here, but there's no evidence that she knew anybody. Anyway, Dorothy Killigan, who had private interview with Ruby and pledged to break the JFK case, drug overdose. Close friend of Dorothy died 2 days after the columnist may have kept her private notes, cause unknown. Usually when the cause is unknown, there's something sinister going on. William Whaley. Now keep in mind these dates though. So soon after the whole thing. The cab driver who supposedly drove Oswald to his rooming house. And the only taxi driver to die on duty, motor collision. CIA, they know how to kill people and cause accidents at cars and make it look like it's an accident. Judge Joe Brown presided over Ruby's trial. Heart attack. I mean, all the coincidences. And we still got a whole list to go. Little Lynn Carlin. Ruby employee was last talked to Ruby before shooting Oswald. Gunshot victim. Earlene Roberts. His landlady in the rooming house. Heart attack. That's easy to kind of explain away because she was old. But pretty soon. But hey, her testimony is out there. Albert Bogart, car salesman who took Oswald to test drive the car. Suicide. See, these are all key people where, you know, they gave their initial testimony, but as the years would go by, they could say, you know what, this is what happened. Or they can reinforce it, keep coming out. So you get rid of these key people who are unfortunate enough to have come into an encounter with the setup. But see, for more events in the future, we just never know which one of us may be involved in something that we weren't supposed to be involved in. Captain Frank Martin, Dallas policeman who witnessed Oswald slaying, told Warren Commission there's a lot to be said, but probably better if I don't say it. Sudden cancer. They made sure he didn't say it. Lee Bowers, witnessed men behind the picket fence in the grassy knoll motor accident. Been trying to find pictures of that. Ruby Dancer, shot by husband after 1 month of marriage. Stripper, prostitute. There's a thing on, I think you got to go on Daily Motion. Tammy True, which is one of his stripper hookers. To my surprise, she's still alive. But she says it was Oswald did it. But I'm sure they paid her. I don't care how old she is, 72 or whatever. She's still a hooker and a prostitute. So they paid her money, but she seemed like a lot of fun even at her age now. But she's a hooker and a prostitute. You can go see that. I forgot the name of the damn thing. Matter of fact, let me see if it's up here. So you can go look for it. And this lady right here. Matter of fact, this is even better. Man, I get tired of all this kind of craziness. Yeah. It's like you just can't go on the damn internet anymore. You know what I mean? So this lady right here, she had her little, True Tales on Daily Motion. I'm gonna, no, I think it's Vimeo. I'm sorry. Anyway, I don't know what's up with that. Just go on Vimeo. The name of the thing with this lady is True Tales. Yeah, they don't age too well. But she did have a big ass when she was doing her original stripping. I think I forgot which one is her. I think that's her right there. It's an interesting thing to check out because she was going undercover. She was stripping for Jack Ruby, and she hints that she was prostituting too, because that's what that was all about. But to her family, she was trying to play it off like she had a look at this damn shame as old as she is doing that. That's why once a stripper, always a stripper. Anyway, where are we at? Oh yeah, this guy, Lieutenant William Pitzer. They did the men who did kill Kennedy on that. JFK autopsy photographer who described his duty as a horrifying experience. Gunshot ruled suicide, and they showed that a military guy was try to recruit him to kill the guy, but he got killed anyway. Now, if the guy sees the autopsy and sees something else, they got to get rid of the guy. But it goes to show no loyalty, man. Lieutenant, too. Fort Worth nightclub owner, hired by Ruby employees, natural causes. Saw a man flee, rear of Texas school book depository. That means real shooter, motorcycle accident. District attorney investigator who worked Ruby case unknown. Life magazine official in charge of JFK stories, heart attack. These people are seeing things that they shouldn't have been seeing, but they don't know it, but they get killed anyway. A civilian Navy employee who helped film last 2 days about assassination, one car crash, probably sabotage. Jack Ruby himself, lung cancer. He told the family he was being injected with cancer cells, which we know they can do. Saw escape of Tippit killer, killed by cop in bar brawl. What are the odds of that? David Ferrie, acquaintance of Oswald, garrison suspect and employee of Guy Bannister, blow to the neck, ruled accidental. But remember, they said it was pills. I can't show you this. I don't know if I should, man, but yeah, this ain't too graphic. This is David Ferrie's apartment. As you can see, filthy as hell. JFK movie made it a little different. See the pills and all that kind of stuff down here. I like seeing the real setup so I can see the time period, how people lived back then, and everything else. Guns, swords, and all that kind of shit. This is him. See, you got. I like to see this guy. I never had Jesus, and he was a homosexual, molesting kids and stuff. But man, a killer. Now he worked for the CIA too. He was a pilot flying operations on over to Cuba and helping train anti-Castro Cubans in Louisiana. I don't know if that's blood, that little spot there, a gunshot, but you look crazy as hell. See, so you can see the real deal, man, that you get involved in the wrong thing. That's why they had him in the JFK movie saying that he's about to get killed because he knew it. They can get you anytime, apparently. And this is the guy, Eladio Duvalier, anti-Cuban associated David Ferrie being sought by Jim Garrison. Gunshot wound to the head. Remember in the movie, you see how they were shot like killed in the same day. Matter of fact, I think I got the picture of that guy that they're talking about. Right here. I think he got killed in Miami when that happened. Same day David Ferrie got killed. So that was a coordinated attack, not a coincidence. Dr. Mary Sherman, Ferrie associate working on research cancer, died in a fire, possibly shot. Let me see if I have the pictures of that. If not, you know I got to do it like this. This is that stripper again in her younger days. See, she was looking all right in her younger days. But shit. Boy, they age horribly. But she seemed like a lot of fun in that documentary, though. This is that Dr. Mary Sherman right here. Oh, they got a color picture. She's supposed to have been working on cancer cures and working with David Ferrie and all that kind of stuff. And just for people like me, I like to put things in their total perspective. So I don't give a damn. You know me, I don't give a damn what people have to say. She was a lesbian as well, by the way. So, you know, they were saying that Maybe one of her lesbian lovers killed her. But see, there are people out there, they get busy on the trail, man. They don't let nothing die. So they go to the scene of the crime where she lived at, and that was in New Orleans. And this is the scene of the crime. They said that her arm probably got charred off during one of the what do you call it? The machine she was working on, top secret government machine. And her arm got singed, burned off. So that's her again. See, people bring out the pictures, they bring it out. So, and matter of fact, it was in this book. This guy writes about this for people who don't know. Interesting read. I recommend that one as well. I'm gonna make it quick with that. You see her body right there. People can't take it. I like seeing the reality of things, man. That's just the way I am. But they said her arm got singed in the machine, and then they figured they bring her back to her apartment, make it look like she got murdered, and somebody tried to set her on fire, so they wouldn't have to disclose the project that she was working on for the government. And this lady right here, Judith Judith Very Baker. I still haven't seen any evidence linking her to anybody. Again, maybe I'll check it out again. Oh, don't tell me they that's the secret laboratory. Okay. So that's what I was going to go to New Orleans to see, because I knew after Katrina, a whole lot of shit would be destroyed and flooded out. Okay, the building is still there. That's cool. At least as of then. Hopefully this person went inside and took pictures of the whole shit. Maybe they could find some remnants of it. Anybody in New Orleans should go in there and see if you can find some evidence. I'm gonna look into that later. But yeah, that lady was a lesbian doctor. Yeah, it looks like another lesbian right there from back in the day. I know some people say, what difference does that make? Just showing that that's what it is, and people were doing that kind of stuff back then too. Mary Sherman, assistant Dallas attorney prosecuting Ruby cancer, deputy Dallas sheriff, close friend of Roger Craig. That was the guy that was telling the story about the Oswald, sudden cancer. New Orleans coroner on the death of David Ferrie, heart attack. That means he had to lie as to David Ferrie's cause of death. If he died, what's the point of him dying? Then again, he could have just been old. Friend of Perry Russo told of Oswald Shaw connection. Electrocution. Brother-in-law of coroner Nicholas Cheddar, who died, murdered. Coincidence? It's not a coincidence, man. E.R. Walters, Dallas deputy sheriff who was involved in depository search, claimed to have found a .45 caliber slug shot by a felon. Felon that could have been hired. Could be a coincidence. Found rifle other than the Mannlicher Carcano being taken from the directory. Heart attack. So I didn't know that. Mary Bloodsoe, neighbor to Oswald, also knew David Ferrie. Natural causes. Could have happened. John Crawford. This is the guy they claim that looks like Oswald. I don't think he does. Close friend of Ruby and Wesley Frazier, who gave Oswald a ride. Crash of a private plane. Scheduled to testify about Clay Shaw connection. Reverend Clyde Johnson. Fatally shot. See, when it's shot, that means they ain't got no time to waste, man. They got to take him out. That's why I like seeing the real pictures, if I could find them, of their murders, because it shows you the realism of the whole situation, and it lets you know that this is no joke. This is deadly serious. These people, they take out a president, now they got to cover up everything. There's just too many people who can point to something other than what happened. And you see this long list of people they had to kill. And again, killing all these people they don't mind doing because it protects everybody. And of course, nobody wants a nuclear war, right? So, underworld figure connected to Ruby's friends, wife, Beverly, took film in Dealey Plaza, murdered. Arrested for shooting Warren Reynolds, the guy who saw the police car and another police car in the Tippit shooting. He was released after alibi from Betty McDonald, who I believe died too. Drug overdose. You know, from watching Superfly, they do that in other movies like that. Dallas sheriff, as you can see, they don't mind killing cops, who saw a bullet hit the street in front of JFK. Natural causes. That's 1970. Could be possible. Abraham Zapruder, he was old. Natural causes. Mobster linked to Hoffa, Trafficante, and Castro assassination plots murdered. Mobster tied to mob CIA plots murdered. Ruby's chief defense attorney unknown. CIA director connected to anti-Castro Cubans. General Charles Cable collapsed and died after physical in Fort Myers. I guess if they killed him, I guess because he was connected to the anti-Castro Cubans, which is a part of the whole shit. Those are the people who helped to take shit out and arrange the whole murder scene. Matter of fact, let me show this. This is what do they call this? See this guy right here. Dark complected, just like I showed you with Morales. So he's got the walkie-talkie in his thing. Cubans, as you know, Cubans come with different styles. Both of these guys could be Cuban. This guy right here talking with the walkie-talkie after JFK gets killed. Another picture. This is the man is getting killed. These guys, instead of saying, God damn, I can't believe what happened, they're just chilling and looking around the scene and trying to do what they do. Looking like they're involved. And as you can see, the guy's got a walkie-talkie in his back. Dark-skinned man. So they don't want to say black, but that's Cuban. Now you see how he's just, everybody else is running towards the scene or where they heard the shots at. That's another reason why you know the shots had to have come from there, because people went to the scene. Obviously, if gunshots went there, you know, people were like, okay, let me see if I can catch them. Where could they have traveled to so fast? That's why that trunk scenario comes up. But you can see that's an old school walkie-talkie. They were large back then with the antenna. Who is he communicating with? Telling them, okay, it's done. But as far as I know, nobody ever interviewed the guy or found the guy, but some speculate he could have been one of the Cubans involved in the Watergate situation. So then you got Hale Boggs, as he was on the Warren Commission. House Majority Leader, member Warren Commission, who began to publicly express doubts about the findings. 1972, disappeared in an Alaskan plane flight. As we know, shooting planes over the sky or sabotaging them, that's the way they kill people. They don't give a damn who else is on board. CIA killed a what do you call it? UN Secretary General. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find his name. Yeah, this guy right here. As you can see, he's a white man, but they didn't give a damn. He was talking against the CIA policies. And this is when Allen Dulles was in charge. So they said, fuck it, we got to get this guy. This is why Lyndon Johnson was like, damn, we got to run it Murder Inc. They didn't give a damn who you were. You're going against the grain, you got to go. And fortunately, that's what they do. Once you do it, it never stops. That's the problem. J. Edgar Hoover, who pushed lone assassin theory and JFK assassination, heart attack, no autopsy. Oh, I didn't know that. But he looked like he was ready to go. So I'll give that one an excuse. Gunrunner connected to Ruby and the CIA, electrocuted trying to steal wire. Possible. Miltier, Miami right-winger who predicted JFK's death and capture of scapegoat. Heater explosion. I'd love to see the crime scene photos of that one. I'll keep searching. I'll probably find it. Now, I'm sure you've seen that guy on the Men Who Killed Kennedy. That's the guy with the wild-looking hair. Close friend of Jimmy Hoffa and Jack Ruby, murdered. Now, of course, that wouldn't be of significance, except that Hoffa, as you know, went missing. Jack Ruby died and was involved in shenanigans. Earl Warren, who reluctantly chaired Warren Commission, heart failure. He was old, so we'll give that a pass. But 1974 versus when Kennedy came in 1961, that's possible. But it's also convenient to get some guys out of the way, too. Clay Shaw, prime suspect in Garrison case. He was a homosexual, too, by the way, with a heavy voice, Raymond Burr-type voice. Reportedly a CIA contactor at Ferrie and E. Howard Hunt. Possible cancer. See, they ain't mind saying he had cancer because he smoked cigarettes. See, now this is the guy who Tommy Lee Jones played in the JFK movie. This guy, you know, I guess he was able to be a white dude, but even though he's a homosexual, I can still make out the black in him. The width of the mouth, eye skin color, and as you can see in some pictures, the hair. Just, you know, he almost looks like Booker T. Washington, you know? But, you know, in New Orleans, you got a lot of those Creole type people. Damn, I'm seeing a whole lot of different pictures. I never saw this guy before. This is Tommy Lee Jones playing him. You see how they made the hair. But he was rich. He was a CIA contact. And Jim Garrison was right. If he would have known it while he put this man on trial, and you see the nose too. You can tell this man is that one of those type of black type of guys. But he was a homosexual. With a heavy voice. Now, if Jim Garrison would have known this well beforehand, he would have won the case, but they did everything to shut him down. Jim Garrison was right, though. He had it right. Now, all these guys are presumed homosexuals, and this guy's supposed to be David Ferrie before he lost his hair. And it does look like him, and David Ferrie was out of control homosexual. So Jim Garrison, he said it's probably a gay plot. I think on this angle with the Clay Shaw, David Ferrie aspect of it, I think they played their role in setting up Oswald and keeping him on a phony undercover mission. That way he was there to keep his cover. And that's why you see he didn't crack until he said, I'm just the patsy. Once he realized, damn it, they set my ass up and nobody's coming to save me. That's when he said, I'm just the patsy. So these guys, they help set Oswald up in that sense. So what they do is they have actors who play their role on different scenes. this is the New Orleans scene with these guys, with the David Ferrie. Then you had the Dallas scene when Oswald had to go to his rooming house and all that kind of stuff. That's how it works. And of course, this picture right here, this is when they didn't want to make, it was hard for them to make a link between Ferrie and Oswald, or Oswald and anybody else. So this showed that David Ferrie and Oswald were together. And I think one of these guys is Barry Seal, was also in this Civil Air Patrol as well. And of course, Barry Seal has ties to George Bush 1. So again, that's how George Bush also, everything seems to keep coming back to him because he was in the CIA. Now, this is David Ferrie. When I first started investigating this case and I came across this guy, I said, damn, this is a weird looking dude. You know, I'm thinking old time days and stuff. I'm like, damn, people are looking like this back then, you know? And in the movie, they try to use this version of him for Joe Pesci's character. But see, in the movie, since they didn't make him look as creepy, because they tried to give him a better, all that hair was fake because he had alopecia, which he developed. As you can see, that was an idiotic wig right there. I think right here, I think he kind of cracked. And he was like, fuck it. I'm just putting something on so people won't stare at me. He overdid it with the eyebrows. Very creepy. That's how he used to look with his hair. Crazed homosexual. So each stage, because there's different stages. Dealey Plaza, Ruby, Dallas, they all played their part, and the rest of these guys probably didn't know each other. On each stage, they just had to do their part. And he had the CIA backing him in the trial, but they said he said he lost money. Let me see. Clay Shaw at the trademark. Told you I was going in today. Even after I'm done, it's still not going to be even half of it, the truth be told. Now, this trademark, this is why they did the scene in the movie, because Clay Shaw said he didn't know Oswald. But so they put Oswald out there to pass papers. So if you notice, everybody else is kind of falling back, chilling. That's what happens when the guy who's smiling the most, because he was young, keep that in mind, 24, or could have been 23 at the time. He was smiling, acting like he was doing business. Now, I mean, he had no reason not to trust people. But after a while, you got to start realizing, damn, when you start seeing everybody else is not you, what's up? But Clay Shaw was walking in the back. That's why they put that in the movie, because he was back there. Because he owned this international trademark, CIA front. That's why I say the CIA, they got a lot of cover companies that they front. That's how it looked then. I guess this is how it looks now. Oh, well, maybe that's how it looked way back in the day. Maybe they tore it down. I guess that's where it used to be. So I guess same thing with Ruby's club. I guess they got to tear down key spots. So I think the place where JFK was supposed to meet at in Dallas, that trademark, that's still around. Guilty of being gay, New Orleans businessman Clay Shaw. I guess gays are making excuses now. Former Fritz Corner home of Clay Shaw. Okay, that's my first time seeing the house. That shit looks kind of weird. Go Norla, I guess that must be gay something. So they make excuses that he was tried for being a homosexual. I'll read into that later, but on my own time. But they got Sam Giancana, as you know about him. I showed you the picture earlier. Clyde Tolson, Hoover's assistant and roommate. Kind of old man needs a goddamn roommate when you're making good money. You know what the roommate is all about. Deputy Dallas Sheriff involved in investigation, national causes. Earl Wheeler, general, contact between JFK and CIA, unknown. Ralph Paul, Ruby's business partner connected with crime figures, heart attack. Dallas motorcycle officer riding to JFK's right rear who said JFK struck in the face with the bullet, heart attack. Now, as you get into the 70s, this is where you get into the second investigation, or you could say the third investigation after Jim Garrison. So people start disappearing before it's time to testify. Only people who are trusted the most seem to live. Governor John Connolly's the physician, heart attack. William Harvey, CIA guy, they said he was racist and hated the Kennedys. Coordinator for CIA mob assassination plans for Castro, complications from heart surgery. He was overweight too. Let me show you what this guy looked like for people who don't know. This guy right here. It's good to see the faces of the sinister individuals, you know what I mean? And William F. Buckley, he was in the CIA too. These are all the kind of people who, I wonder if this is the actual guy right here. Does that look like him? I don't know. Whatever the case is, you get the idea. Johnny Roselli got found in a barrel, stabbed and stuffed in a metal drum. Former Brazilian ambassador connected to anti-Castro Cubans and crime figure, gunshot, ruled suicide. George D. Morenshield, close friend of Oswald and Bouvier family, Jackie Kennedy. That's why he was used, and they forget that he was George Bush's buddy. Gunshot wound, ruled suicide, and I do have that picture right here. Let me see. I guess this is the tamer version. So I like to look at the actual situation so you can see for yourself. I guess I could show this on the YouTube. Right before he was about to testify. When it comes down to it, I think they would rather just kill 50 million people than get caught and be shamed and lynched. Former Cuban president, money man for anti-Castro Cubans, gunshot ruled suicide. Business friend of George D. Morenshield and wealthy oil man, natural causes. Dallas talk show host who told friends he would break assassination case. Gunshot to the head, ruled suicide. Former number 3 man in FBI, worked on JFK investigation, heart attack. FBI official testified at Warren Commission, long illness. FBI document expert testified at Warren Commission, fallen home. Chief steward in JFK's Air Force One, shooting accident. Francis Power, U-2 pilot, downed over Russia. Some people say that was sabotaged by the CIA. Helicopter crash. He reportedly ran out of fuel. People say he got killed on purpose. JFK's closest aide, natural causes. FBI fingerprint chemist, heart attack. Former head of FBI forensics, heart attack. William Sullivan, former number 3 man in the FBI. Now, I'm sure a lot of people may have heard about this. Head of Division 5, counter espionage, domestic intelligence, hunting accident. Now, of course, that's a good way to cover things. And they have a special on him because he knew a whole lot. That's on, you can find that on YouTube. Dallas deputy sheriff who arrested mafia man Braden and Dealey Plaza. Natural causes. Man who said Oswald fired at his target at rifle range. Unknown. Depository employee said to be man in doorway. Billy Love lady. Complications from heart attack. So I wouldn't say that he got killed because shit, he didn't offer anything. Except that some people try to say he was in the doorway. But that wasn't him. That wasn't Oswald. Jesse Curry, former police chief, heart attack. I mean, he was old by that time. I mean, Lavelle, the guy who was handcuffed or walking Oswald to the corridor when he got shot with the hat, he just died recently. He was like 99. So, you know, some people could live a long time. Dallas police chief at the time, psychiatrist who testified Ruby was not insane, heart attack, but pills and notes found. Marguerite Oswald, mother of accused assassin, cancer. Go back to the Harvey and Lee website. You'll find out a whole lot of action going on. Chief felony prosecutor and Dallas DA, natural causes, original translator for Marina Oswald. Some people say he translated what he wanted to translate. Natural causes, pathologist allowed to see JFK autopsy material. Died while jogging. Ruled not natural causes. But no heart attack? FBI agent reportedly said Oswald was definitely an FBI agent. Cancer. FBI official who helped supervise investigation, long illness, Secret Service agent in charge of JFK limousine, 84, Roy Kellerman. Now these people, they have these people probably didn't die in anything suspicious though. Former Jim Garrison, 92. Natural causes, I think he had cancer or something like that. Perry Russo said he saw Shaw, Ferrie, and Ferrie talking about killing the JFK. JFK's mother died in 95. Yeah, maybe I missed that when that happened. Wrested Ruby's revolver away from Oswald after shooting. Judge who advised LBJ of transition to power. Damn, she survived until 90. Well, that's 30 years. Dealey Plaza witness, photographer, leukemia. JFK's secretary. Defender of Ruby. CIA agent who claimed that he uncovered a large operation aimed at killing JFK, heart disease. Dealey Plaza witness, press photographer. Natural causes, Southborough. Senator Ralph Yarborough, natural causes. He was in the men who killed Kennedy. Lawyer of Jack Ruby. Stroke. Charles Brim. So I didn't know he died in 96. Witness, he was that prime guy that was the witness there. George McBundy, top aide to JFK and LBJ, heart attack. Rufus Youngblood, agent who shielded LBJ during JFK murder, cancer. And Gary Mack, that was the guy. Let me see if I can... So that's it with that list, because I don't know if I lost people with that or not, but you want me to go in, I'm going in. This guy right here, when I was in Dallas, I met this guy. But I didn't know he died, because I went to Dallas in 2010. Shook his hand. I think he was wearing something similar to this, too. Now, this guy came up with the badge man theory, and he always said that it was a conspiracy. And then he got this job. Then he kind of backed away from it. You see, this guy was in the men who killed Kennedy. He was looking like that then. He kind of backed away from the conspiracy thing, but but when you go to the museum in Dallas, he kind of set things up to show other people who were involved in it, but without saying. So I think he tried to walk the fine line so that he can get paid, you know. But, you know, it was what it was. I didn't realize he was dead. So I took a picture with him. And somebody else just died recently. And it's funny how he was with JFK. I think he said he was a campaign manager in New York. Mark Lane, he just died recently. Uh, 2016. See, some of these guys lived a long time. But as people know, he was involved in the Jonestown too. You know, he's noted for the JFK, but when some people keep sticking in the same business, real name Moshe Levine, and as you can see, another one of those types with some very suspicious facial characteristics. You know what I mean? Changed this guy's name to Manuel Lopez. Then changed Manuel Lopez to Mark Jackson. What do you come up with? But that's another video for another time. So with that being said, let me get back to this. In fact, let me see where the people are at first. Let's see what people are saying. Good Shepherd movie. See the book. Yeah, Dr. Mary's Monkey. He touches on that. Kenny's whacked because he really thought he was in charge. That's true. Extensive season made that they were talking about whole groups at the time. Dorothy Killigan was also killed. Yep, I showed the pictures of her and everything else. And again, this was a grand conspiracy because when it came to the military, to the cover-up, it was a military cover-up too, especially when the autopsy came. And according to them, they're still covering holding Lee Harvey Oswald's work information and tax money. Because you got to watch this website because it's gonna, but you really got to read the book though, because it gets so damn deep. If you don't have an extensive background on it, you will be confused, and you might be lost, and you might even be disinterested in it. But if you want to know the truth, as close as you can get without the government coming out and saying this is what happened, this is going to be it. Let's see. The man was clearly cold set up. There ain't no doubt about that. And it was a coup. Now let's see. I'll touch on this. I didn't want to get too deep in this because this might go too far with some people's knowledge or whatever. But he talks about the fact that there were two Oswald. There was a real, what he says was a real Lee Harvey Oswald and another imposter. Two different families raised from the beginning to be CIA plants to go into the Soviet Union. And I guess once they changed plans and said, you know what, we got to take out JFK, the reason why Oswald came into being is because he was a Marine, he was in the military, he was undercover. That's how they picked him, because his cover story with the Soviet Union. That helps them make the blame and complicate the issue by saying Russia might be involved. But as you can see, both of these are supposed to be his mother. They look like totally different people. Similar, but totally different characteristics. And because of that, because they're very distinct, but similar, this aids in this man's argument. And even over the years, when I would look up Oswald's mother, I would also always come across these two individuals. Different pictures at different times in his life. I'm sure anybody who investigated, you came across these pictures in particular. Oswald back in the day, why is he so photographed all the time throughout his life? He made a whole bunch of travels. But the CIA, see, back in those days, you really had to go deep. As far as, see, this is the fake mother. She kind of looked like Ringo Starr. But they both look similar, and then they merged identities, and then they finally crossed over. And he's saying that one of them was probably the one that helped set Oswald up in places where he wasn't supposed to have been at. See, he even has checks, every money orders, all types of shit to back everything. Now, this is the fake mother they put out there after the capture of Oswald and the death. And she was doing the speaking. And as long as you pay people now, you'll see that she was supposedly struggling in her private life, but yet at the same time, the CIA, they'll give people a stipend. Now, this guy in the book, he goes all out, and when I was reading the book, I like looking at the pictures of the cities, the buildings, to get a better understanding of what was going on with my own eyes, because that's the way I like to do it. And they moved so many times. It's like every time they got established in a place or a school for Oswald, they might stay there half a year or most of the year, then move out before he had to be re-registered, and they asked for all his information. It's like it's enough that people remember him, but forget him at the same time. But they don't stay there long enough so that people say, oh yeah, we were good friends. I knew her inside and out. I knew Oswald inside and out. That's trickery, but you got to read the book for the details. I'm not about to go into the detail, but these guys are similar. And I think the fact that they found people with similar characteristics, but dissimilar at the same time, I could put forth my own theory, but that might sound kind of weird, but not too out of the question if they went this far. But you got to keep in mind, in the beginning stages, they didn't go this far because they had killing JFK in mind. This is for another mission, building up infallible spies to penetrate the Iron Curtain in the Soviet Union. That's what that was all about. And that's where he comes back with his Russian wife. And that's the mystery to a lot of people. Did the Russians penetrate her into the United States? Because they said her father was down with the KGB. And according to the man's book, Harvey and Lee, she was doing prostitution in Moscow because she was looking terrible before she came to the U.S. and she got her teeth fixed. And today she looks like a goddamn man. Matter of fact, let me show you. See, man, white people don't age too well, man. Whew, imagine waking up to that in the morning, man. God damn. Damn, they got this clear color. Oh, that's colorized. I can still tell. Even today, I can tell that's colorized. But caught her at Walmart. So that's the thing. That's the other mystery. Did Marina Oswald come back as a Soviet double agent? Or could she have been an agent for the US in the Soviet Union and then came back with Oswald? But whatever the reason was, Oswald had to take this lady and come back to the United States. And it was in the paper. And like you see with a lot of these fake mass shootings and other events, they build up history for these guys that they're about to use. In Oswald's case, the history was already there for another mission. But in a lot of these mass shooting guys, they put their fake history on social media, and it could have been there in real time, but whatever the case is, they put them there, build them up, use them at a different juncture in time. And then they have the media go back and say, oh, okay, this is what they did then, that, and the other. And people say, oh, okay, yeah, I see. But in this case, since she's still in this country, it's either she was down with the Russians. I think the Russians would have asked for her back a long time ago. But since they didn't, and she's still here, something's up. I think she may have been a spy in the Soviet Union for the U.S. And Oswald, obviously, he was a young guy. He didn't know what he was getting into. And what else do we have here? This is a case. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what I want people to see, just in case people won't see this address. I mean, this thing later on. This one right here. When I was reading this site, this is very interesting. This guy played on Barney Miller. And yes, as you can see, he was one of them. But this guy, I told you, these guys are activists, they're anarchists. When they go around doing these political rallies, that's why it's always one of them. No matter what it is. And they hire people. He was an actor. And they said he would go around in the early 60s. He even met up with Lee Harvey Oswald in New York. And I mean, it's something to read. He was acting like he was a Southern racist and trying to cause chaos and mayhem. Like you find those hellraisers you might see at a political rally or something like that, and then somebody comes up and starts screaming and yelling and acting emotional in any kind of way to solicit a certain type of feeling from people. This is what this type of guy, this is what he was playing. And this, in the early 60s, he was an actor, so he was able to pull that kind of shit off. Just like if you're seeing now, there's this young girl, I forgot what her thing was. They keep showing her, but she looks like she's around 40 years old, and they keep having her play the role. You remember in the Iraq War, they kept having people come up saying, "Oh, they were raped by Saddam Hussein's people." You know, this is propaganda, and unfortunately, you're just not gonna not find these people to play these roles. Okay, and I guess they want to show this to show how you could play the
Our next guest is a friend of David's.
accent.
Pay attention to what's going on in this country politically, the political scene.
Well, I told Jimmy. I told him, I said, look him right in the eye and say this. Say, I am an only child. Now, it's your word against theirs. They trust you. That's why they voted for you. Also, during the campaign, I would wear shorts. Because Ronnie will never show his knees. He's a lot older than he says he is. You know, those Hollywood people. He's about 90. He's at least 90 years old, Ronnie. Oh, yeah, I know Ronnie from way back. We were in the Waco Kid Takes a Hike together. But I think also, I told Jimmy, I said, America likes festive things. So have a circus atmosphere when you campaign. Have a lot of midgets around you. a lot of Jews with them things on their hair. You know, the hair on America loves looking at Jews.
See, anarchist. That's what he was. But and they merged these two Landsbergs together to merge their identity. And he's trying to show how they did that with Oswald and with this guy too from Barney Miller. So he was an anarchist, but he's working on behalf of his people. So that's what he was doing in his younger days. And then all of a sudden he disappears. And of course, it's easy for him to get jobs in Hollywood because you know why. And he gets the Barney Miller gig. So this guy's known from Barney Miller. I mean, it's like, damn, who in the hell? What a guest. You never know who you're dealing with, you know, and what their history is. You know, in the early 60s, you just couldn't get a bunch of footage on people like you can get them on today. So, you know, if that ever comes out, I like to see the footage on that. Now, these are the CIA conspirators. David Hadley Phillips, he was from Texas. E. Howard Hunt, he lived a long time. These two guys, you know. Now, the funny part is a lot of people like to say the CIA. This is what they say. They said the CIA did it by themselves, or they say rogue elements of the CIA did it. See, here's the problem with that. If it's rogue elements and the CIA covers it up, then now it's not rogue elements anymore. It's the CIA. Now, if the FBI, future presidents, Congress, military, if they cover up the whole thing, then it's no longer the CIA or rogue elements of the CIA. It's a conspiracy. It's a coup. It's everybody. You know? And they talk about Lee Oswald driving. And the reason why he brings that up is because if you were around earlier, I played the scene where the Dallas mayor said that Lee Oswald didn't know how to drive. Ruth Payne said that Oswald didn't know how to drive. But some people saw Oswald driving, which lends credence to the imposter. But again, even if people can't believe this, once you know the CIA and what they get into, you hear a lot of people talking about the MK Ultra and a bunch of these other programs that they've been made aware of. They can accept that, but see all this other stuff. This is that behind the scenes intrigue stuff. And this is why they say the public couldn't take it. And this is why they said they had quoted Richard Nixon as saying that if the public knew the facts, they wouldn't believe it. Yeah, I believe they wouldn't believe it, but they're not telling anyway, because then they'll ruin the next plan that they have to do for the next man, you know? So, I mean, it's definitely deep, but if you don't want to get that deep into it, but you almost have to, because if you accept that this man got set up, then you have to accept and find out where they got the guy from. Now, you'll read some things. This is why you got to sort through all the bullshit, which there's a whole lot of bullshit out. I read somewhere that they said there were 40,000 books about this JFK case. And as you saw when I made the video about my books, as you can see, I don't have anywhere near that many. and wouldn't, because what I do, I kind of research a lot of the books, see if they're pertinent, see who wrote them. And the ones that I keep, those are the ones that I feel they have valuable information. And there were others that I had that I got rid of because they were either repetitive or they didn't talk much. And I even kept a few, not by conspiracy theorists, but by people who stick to the story. And those are the people with the thickest and biggest books, like the Gerald Posner and that other dude with the glasses. I forgot his name, who wrote the only book on the Tippit slaying. Got to read a lot. Got to read a lot. Once you read a lot, it's better to stick with what's plausible and what can be proven, and keep speculation away. Now, if you read something and somebody says that somebody said that they can blow this case wide open, and then you say, oh, they can't? Where are they at? Then you find out that they got killed. Then you're like, oh, maybe that's why. But if they're still alive and they're not blowing it wide open, then something's up. Matter of fact, let me tell you who the hell is still alive right now. Let me give it this. I don't know why I got 32 gigs of RAM, but this fucking thing is acting funny here. To my knowledge, she's still around. I think she didn't die yet. She sure lived a long time. And as you can see, she kept the same hairdo probably for effect. But goddamn, I mean, she was deep into the shit. I would really love to interview her and ask her one question. Do you feel better off after having done it than before? And what I mean by better off right now. Do you think it was a good idea to have done it? Now, when people do things, they feel it's a good idea when it was done or when they're about to do it. But what about right now? You think it was worth it? "87 years old. I'll be honest with you, I don't even want to. Man, it's always one of these, man. I'm tired of this. Can't go on the internet without these things popping up all the time. But do you really want to live that long? Damn, she looked like she really has her natural teeth, too. Now, she was connected with the military establishment. Her former husband, he died a few years ago. She kept that hairstyle, which makes her easily identifiable. Now, there is something that said that her and her husband, right after the Kennedy assassination, they were heard, and this is verified, and you can find that on the Harvey and Lee website too, that her and her husband, they were heard, I think it was may have been recorded, but they were heard saying by an operator, because you know how they had the switchboards back then. Operator said, "We know who did this," after he got killed. And they knew it wasn't Oswald. But obviously they knew because she helped to set up Oswald. And that's right, I'm saying it. And I went to her house out there when I was out there too. Didn't quite look like that. But yeah, if I go back out there, people who are in Dallas, in the Dallas area, because a lot of people, man, a lot of black people in particular, man, they don't take advantage of the things that are around them. Whether you live in DC, New York, LA, you know, places that have things. People don't go there. And check them out, man. You got Dallas, all these sites are there, man. At least these black people went. That's a photo. So I'm always intrigued by those olden times, man, because those cars and colors. And that was her garage that had all that junk in there that Oswald was supposed to have left his stuff in there. But every time something was found or something that was new that needed to tie Oswald to the crime, she just happened to have found some more of it. And she happened to have housed the wife and the fake mother. So while Oswald was doing his separate thing. And that cover was supposedly him plotting to kill the president. But of course, like I said in the beginning of this, Oswald didn't benefit. And this is probably her Nash Rambler that Oswald got picked up in by a Negro, driven by a Negro, which I showed you who that was earlier and why somebody would call that a Negro. In essence, he was one. That's her back in her younger days. Damn, man, I tell you, man, a lot of women, they switch up hairdos, but damn, this lady basically had the same hairdo from the, I guess, when she started doing her own hair until now. That's pretty unbelievable. But yeah, of all the sinister figures in that assassination plot, this is the lady right here. As far as I know, she's still around. Matter of fact, let me yeah, she's still around. In Dallas, they gave her the key to the city. I guess they say, hey, man, here's your reward for killing the president, helping to kill the president. And this is the trial of Lee Harvey Oswald. I bought this on a DVD too, along with that American Coup and Executive Action. And see, those look like her natural teeth. She still has, goddamn. But in this trial, you can find this on DVD. I think they even have it on YouTube. You gotta pay close attention. I remember seeing this when I was a kid. I watched it, but I didn't really know the full everything I was seeing. And Larry Spence, I didn't know who the hell he was, but then years later with the OJ thing, that's when I remembered. I didn't make the connection until I saw this later on, which was probably about 10 years ago. I saw it. I said, oh, that's where I saw that Larry Spence at first. I didn't know all the characters, but this is good. So you can still, this is a mock trial on Oswald with actual witnesses. So you can still, it's good to hear people's accounts again, if you're really into it, so you can see who's messing up. Sometimes you can remember more than what you remember at the time. Other times you're lying. And she got caught in lies. But God damn it, this lady's almost 90. I mean, she was a part of changing America. And she was a part of a coup. And it goes to show that the sleeper cells are everywhere. And if you don't believe that, you can look at all these, how these governors and mayors support these illegal aliens and how they support the gay stuff. So all they do is just talk about it, and whatever the agenda is, they go along with it. You know, it's just crazy. And these are supposed to be so-called conservatives. And, you know, like I always say, unless they're setting the homosexuals up for something in the future, I don't get it. Let's see, this is her. She likes being involved in the history, but nobody ever questions her anymore. They celebrate her as a hero now because she's one of the last living principals now, besides Oswald's wife, who's about 15, surprisingly, 15 years younger than her. Really shocked this lady has survived so long. Sinister woman. I think they turned the house into a museum. When I went there in 2010, somebody was living there. It wasn't a museum. I didn't see a museum. But if I would have seen it as a museum, I would have gone in there for sure. But like I said, the person I was with, that's why she was kind of nervous. And since I did see a car parked in the driveway, I didn't really want to go up to it like that, but I still went there because I'm like, I ain't travel all this way to get nothing. You know, I ain't coming here with just looking only. I'm coming here, I'm taking pictures so I can see pictures from my perspective. But later on, I found out that a lot of these pictures that you see on the internet basically capture what the hell I was seeing, you know? So basically what you're seeing is what you can experience in real life. But sometimes, like me, if you're like me, you got to go see it. Sometimes I got to see things in person, just like Egyptian pyramids. I got to see it at some point in time. But see, even when I see houses like that, some of us may live in old time houses, and many of us may not realize how old they are. But that's old. But this lady is a sinister individual, and she should be ashamed of herself. I doubt if she has email or anything, but if I could find this lady, really love to ask her some questions. Only a few. And this was her husband. Now this guy, because this was a frontline video, he said he and Lee Harvey Oswald were trying to be champions of the New World Order. Now we haven't heard Oswald say anything like that, but he said it. Michael Payne, her husband, ex-husband. And he worked for the Bell helicopter. Once you see that connection, everybody has a connection that either goes back to the banking, CIA, military, corporations, all together. Some people just call that all around Illuminati. Some wild times, man. All this primitive technology, which I'm sure a lot of it was probably high tech at the time. I just can't comprehend a lot of that stuff, man. You had to be there, I guess. Sometimes, man, if you could have a time machine with some HD stuff, go back in there and get your own recordings. Make a killing. No pun intended. This lady old as hell. Let's see. The assassination of Mrs. Payne. That's something else to check out. See, they are parading this lady around like she's some goddamn hero. She's a goddamn criminal. So when you ever you see people like this, and you want to know who helped kill JFK, this is one of the people, one of the principals. And this is some of the stuff that the Dallas PD. That's another thing that Harvey and Lee, they also show the inventory they took from Oswald, his supposed belongings at Ruth Payne's house. Once they took some of the stuff, it was what it was. But then after the FBI got it, seized it, brought it back, then there were more stuff that went along with it that the Dallas Police Department did not inventory. And the police chief, Jesse Curry, made sure to make a list of everything because I think he was suspicious himself about what was going on. So they, in other words, like any kind of plot, whether, somebody who killed somebody as an individual, they, once they see somebody's on to them, they start switching it up. And then they don't know exactly what's going on. But when you're talking government, they can question witnesses and everybody else involved, and nobody's the wiser. So they can start switching shit up. But in this case, for people who know, the Dallas PD, they were doing their own investigation. And then the FBI quickly took it over because they wanted the evidence, so to speak. And what they did was taint the evidence, and they wanted to make Oswald guilty. And that's what happened. And now it's a goddamn business up until, I guess this lady dies. So my voice is done. I'm going to see if anybody wants to come on and discuss it. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let's see. Let's see. Somebody likes to come on. Actors, character actors. Well, I mean, in a sense that they were, because they were playing their role. And they're like sleeper cells. When they get the call up, they react, they act. And that's what they did, apparently. So I've been on for 3 hours. Damn, 3 hours and 22 minutes. So Vanessa, you can't say I didn't go in, Vanessa. I went in. And with this, there's a whole lot more. You really literally have to take years and years of doing all this research. And then everything could be clear to you. And the reason why, for people who might say or might ask, why do you care? And why do you want to take your time reading all this stuff to see what happened? Why? Because that's the only way you're ever going to get to the truth, is to read. Because they're never going to tell you what happened. Remember, they were supposed to have kept all the evidence under wraps until I think it was 2070. And then I think they lowered it to 2039. And I think now they say 2027 or something like that. But why does it have to take so long if Oswald was the one who did it? That's what it boils down to. So we got the last call for anybody who wants to get on, because my voice is starting to drop. But I like talking about this. As a matter of fact, even with that long ass 1,000-page book, Harvey and Lee, I might go back and read it again. Because it is absolutely unbelievable. No. See, when people start talking that talk, doppelganger, that's where I hope you're not serious about that. obviously the real JFK got whacked. I mean, why would they whack a doppelganger? And I know a lot of people talk about Officer Tippit being used as a body double for the autopsy, but that's a bunch of craziness. Those are the things that are put forth in order to dilute the truth and confuse people. That's part of CIA tactic and propaganda tactic. When you don't want people to know the truth, you just put a whole bunch of stuff out there. Some could be real, others wacky. Like I was listening to this brother Sanchez guy. This man was talking about donuts, planet shaped like donuts, jelly donuts found on the moon. He was like, see what I'm telling you about these donuts, man? Then he has some lady talking about stargazing, sun gazing, sun watching. I'm like, man, this is a whole bunch of craziness by these Freemason guys. I mean, these black guys with this Freemasonry and this craziness. Sun, the lady was making eyes with her hands in her video and putting it over the sun. Then he's like, you see those rays of the sun? Those are the 6-pointed stars. You can't say it's not a 6-pointed star. And then he said, oh, the sun is it shines bright like a diamond. I mean, obviously we know that Rihanna made that song, Shine Bright Like a Diamond, because that's what she was talking about. Those people, they got to make those kind of songs devoted to their forced God. You know, he keeps trying to point us to the sun, all that go sun gazing. What the hell are they trying to get you to do? But that Sanchez guy, he's full of shit. Oh, you want to know what the truth is? What? Is that what you're asking? The truth is, it was a full government coup, just like you see in other countries. So the process, the so-called democratic process, was circumvented. They didn't give a damn about that. They just said, forget the process. We're taking them out. And the decision, you could tell when the decision was made because they started impersonating Oswald in 1960. So that goes to show that they were setting things in motion. Some things were abandoned and some things went forth. But this is what happens when you overthink, and they had to overthink because they knew that they were going to take Oswald out. So they have to tell Oswald's story when he's dead. They tell you his motives. They tell you his reasoning. They try to tell you what he was thinking, even though there's nothing to support what they say he was thinking by himself. And anytime he was speaking, he was undercover when he was in New Orleans, speaking about being a Marxist and all that kind of stuff. Even when he was captured, as you saw in the police department, he was still undercover until he said, I'm just a patsy. You see how he lost his cool. He was 24 years old. He was, this is not a eulogy for Oswald either, by the way. But he's 24 years old. So he was just, going with the flow with these older guys, these established guys in the government. You figure, okay, man, I'm helping out my country. This is why even the fake Oswald's mother, she even said, the people will never know that my son did more for this country than you'll ever know and what most other Americans have done. Because she knew what the hell his real mission was, and her own. But when you're in deep, you got to be in deep. Unfortunately, the man was sacrificed, and later on, even bin Laden was sacrificed. Not that I care about him, but that was more shenanigans for one world. And with that, after that, they had events that were fake, with fake perpetrators, like that Micah X guy. Some people still believe that was real. Chris Donner, Dorner. I was watching on a particular website where they show, not so pleasant pictures. And they couldn't find one of Chris Dorner's death. So even that site said, I'm not so sure that this is real. Because like I always say, you can't find the bodies, I'm not buying it. You can't find the Newtown bodies, I'm not buying it. The Bin Laden body, that death scene, that didn't look real. When you see enough, you can see what looks real and what is not real. And then here I show bodies, but I didn't want to show too many more because you know how that goes. But with that, we're at 10:15. My voice is dry. And I think I've proven the case and shown enough. And with that, Vanessa, I went all out, Vanessa. I went all out. And matter of fact, before I go, let me thank, hold on a second. Come on. Let me thank Jimmy D for the donation. Since we got one, I guess that's it. Well, was the Zapruder film true? Yes, it was, but obviously they say it was modified. I don't know the state of the art of film stuff back then, but I'll tell you this: film, editing techniques. But I was looking at Amazon Prime. I was watching some movies, sci-fi movies from the 1950s. And I gotta be honest with you, I was shocked as hell at the special effects on some of those. I was like, damn, I didn't know they had shit like that in the 50s. In fact, there was one movie, damn, what the hell was that shit? I think it was called, oh, hold on, Double A wants to get on. What's going on?
I just tuned in, is all.
Oh, okay.
I've been following internet. I've been following some of the information that you've been putting out.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I've been following it somewhat for years myself. Years ago, as a teenager, I used to be called a conspiracy theorist by just whatever bits of information that I was able to piece together back then. And being on the internet or going to the internet, it wasn't popular, so it was either books, encyclopedia, or whatever information, newspaper, or other than speaking to people that lived during those times, taking in that bits of information and piecing or connecting whatever dots.
Yeah, man, it's something, man. That's why when you really dig into the whole thing, man, they're not going to tell you everything. Because it's just going to be, even 50 years from now, I don't think they're going to tell the whole truth, even if they let some of it out. Because you still got the Bush family around, and they have a lot of power. They're not going to let everything go through. And last thing people want to hear is that presidents who came after Kennedy were involved in taking the man out, involved in a plot to take the man out.
Correct. And there was trying to tell people that the Bushes are Nazis, they would lay an egg, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in that history is pretty clear, but people say, the funny part is a lot of people don't realize Prescott Bush. They don't even know about the guy. I'm like, I didn't know about the guy until I started learning about the guy. I said, damn, he was a damn senator, but apparently popular enough to and powerful enough to use Richard Nixon as a proxy. So I'm like, damn, they don't even tell you about that?
Nope, not at all. But what blew, my mind was the part where he was the chairman or the president of a bank with the Nazi money in it. That part right there had done it for me. I mean, other than, of course, you growing up as a child in the household, you're growing up Democrat, right? So naturally, politically, you're opposing, Republicans. Now, here's the deal. When you get to it, like none of that matters because whoever they want is how it's going to go. And here it is. Bush serves one term, okay, but he's been in the cabinet for like 30 years prior to that, 20-some years, however, you know what I mean, working within the inner workings of the government, CIA, and therefore after, up until his presidency, or to his death.
Yeah. And that CIA background, that's what's critical. And see, because back in the day, even though Prescott Bush must have been a guy that people knew, but his son, George Bush, that one, a lot of people weren't really aware of him. He was kind of like under the radar for the most part, unless you were in those circles,
Indeed. Of course, and I just wonder how he was able to be a director, with I don't even know if he had any prior military experience or anything.
Oh yeah, he was in the military, and he claimed he was not in the CIA when he was a CIA director, but see, that's why they put him in charge. Because they know he had the prior experience. And some people say that he put in work arranging the Kennedy assassination or helping to arrange it. And that was one of his just rewards. But the whole goal was to get him in the White House. And he was supposed to have gotten in there before Nixon. Nixon was supposed to have gotten in there in place instead of Kennedy. Then Kennedy comes in, gets in there, and starts ruining plans. And the plan for the Vietnam War as well. And then they take him out. Lyndon Johnson does what he does. Then Nixon, then Johnson, after a while, he doesn't run, chooses not to run, but he probably would have won. But they say, hey, okay, we got to put Nixon in now. And then what do you know? Bobby Kennedy comes around. So they had to get rid of him. Then Nixon gets president, and everybody else after that was supposed to have been in there, they're in there. But they say that Nixon was supposed to made George Bush his running mate, vice president, and he didn't do that. So that's part of the reason they got his ass out of there.
Okay, so even then, I don't understand why he wouldn't make an attempt to run and elect to be in be a cabinet member or whatever it is, Colin Powell and Newt Gingrich and all those people. The Trilateral Commission folk, you know what I mean? You got those doing the inner workings while you got Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon. Mind you, Richard Nixon ran against Dick Gregory his second term. You understand? So that there was iffy and fishy. You don't think Bush could have beat out Dick Gregory or even Nixon at that time?
Hey, man, this is what happens. And then even had once Reagan takes office, then he gets shot. And I guess they assume, okay, well, if let's just call that, if that's a so-called conspiracy or coincidence, old man, he would die. But he didn't. And then after all these years, they say that Bush was really the one in control. Reagan wasn't in control.
Yeah, and come to think of it, Reagan was in that same circle prior to his presidency,
Yep, and I think they got him. I know he's the governor and everything, but given the fact that he was an actor, that makes him easier to start telling lies. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So I'm still trying to find the name of this damn movie. Whatever the case is, go on Amazon and watch one of these 50 sci-fi movies. there was one movie. It's about some guy who gets some power or something. He can start going through walls and putting his hand through things. And I didn't think they had the special effects for that kind of stuff back then. Because somebody asked, do you think the Zapruder film was, doctored or whatever? And looking at the special effects they had in the 1950s, I'm like, now I think they could have done that now. Altered it just a little bit, just enough.
Most definitely. And the smile hat just so happened to be the only footage, so to speak, live footage,
right?
Recording it, and you produce pictures in which that you show the guy with the radio in the back and whatnot. Like that is not nothing in which that was produced back then. You understand?
Yep.
For the most part, what you got was the breakfast or whatever it was they did in Fort Worth. There was media coverage right there. You showed, I don't know if that was that precisely, but at the same time, that looked like that was them in Fort Worth. And you got LBJ sizing him up, as you stated. All right. And then no media coverage when he's going through Dealey Plaza. I don't get it. There's media coverage coming off the plane from Fort Worth into Dallas.
Right.
But none going through Dealey Plaza. All you guys just small hat footage. That Dick Gregory later on be somebody on the talk show, be the first quote unquote to release that. That's iffy.
Right. And that makes him look like a guy you can trust, right?
You see? Yeah. The games, as he would say, the games.
Now, all the stuff Dick Gregory used to talk, why would they entrust all this with the comedian?
I'm with you on that. I mean, I follow, or I like his work, I guess. At the same time, though, it's like, wait a minute, what lines, where are you actually at? Where do you stand? Where do you sit? He and with that nonviolent thing, he threw me off with that when he was like, he's so nonviolent to the point where not even throwing up your hand to defend yourself is, he's extreme. But at the same time, if you pluck a plant from his natural state because he's vegetarian, didn't you just kill the plant? You understand? So he's that there used to kind of, I was like, I don't get it. I don't know, it's suspect.
Oh yeah. I mean, that type of thing, I don't think it could happen today. See, they had to do what they had to do and plan it around the technology of the day. Not everybody walked around with a camera in their hands, but maybe they did. For all I know, maybe they kept them in their cars. I don't know. But apparently a lot of people did have cameras that day. Well, obviously they knew he was coming. But I mean, they confiscated a lot of film and destroyed stuff, said they lost stuff when it was destroyed, because some people had pictures that, show some suspicious stuff. And they said, okay, we got to destroy this. That's how they did it. They controlled the whole scene, because some people used to say, well, in order for them to pull this conspiracy off, it had to be a very big one. People would say that to say it couldn't have been, but I think they were saying it because they knew it had to be, because that's what it was. They controlled the scene.
Yeah. The whole thing.
And today, say 9/11, people had footage, people had cameras, but it's not like now. Even, everybody got a camera in their hand, even if you don't want one in your hand. So something were to happen today, it'd be extremely hard for them to do anything unless they did something slick, like, there was a cell phone glitch and everybody's cell phones got erased.
Yeah, something like that.
That's the only way.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, it's then they got, and I think just like you said, the alteration of picture film back then, I think they got the technology to do exactly what you just said, in the event that something cataclysmic happens like that, they just glitch everybody's phone. Everybody's phone saying the same thing, or everybody's phone is off. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around during the JFK thing, of course, but that must have been shocking. But in a way, I think the 9/11 was more devastating.
Yes, I can remember, where I was at the time, and it was, a shock. I'm calling my grandmother and my mother, "Hey, y'all okay?" And here it is. We not nowhere near New York. So I can imagine, like you there in New York when it took place, correct?
Yep. Yeah, I was like, I didn't realize the importance of those buildings until, my Channel 5 went out and stuff like that, I was like, damn. And they kept talking about all the other stuff that was in there. I was like, damn, I didn't realize all that stuff was in there.
Yeah,
but you see the correlation between World Trade Center and the international trademark where Lee Harvey Oswald was being set up to pass those flyers out with Clay Shaw and that trade center. That's what that trademark was. That's a trade center. And JFK, he was supposed to speak. If he would have made it through there, he was going to the Dallas trademark, which is a Dallas Trade Center. He was going to speak there, but he didn't make it, as we know.
And made sure he didn't.
Yep.
You heard Dick Gregory say he was shot. You understand? Versus the headlines and whatnot, which say assassinated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Dick Gregory was full of shit.
Just like the Martin Luther King, balcony shot. He got shot. He was like, I happen to know that he didn't die on the balcony. He was smothered in the hospital. I'm like, why would he say that?
Same reason as Sanchez talking about jelly donuts and stuff, Trying to get, because they know the people who are sick will always buy into a bunch of BS and repeat it.
And I'm like, nah, that ain't, I don't even, why you didn't say that stuff then? If you did, and you made it to this far, that means to me that there's something rotten in Denmark as it pertains to, you can say something outlandish and you're not necessarily, like, you're not publicly ridiculed. You had more ridicule on Sammy Davis Jr. back then, interracially marrying and stuff, even though he's a small hat too. You know what I'm saying? He's just black.
See, Dick Gregory, like somebody else pointed out, this man was around a whole lot of people who ended up dead. And why he was into them, under normal circumstances, it shouldn't be the case, but it was the case, whether it was John Lennon, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. And I'm trying to think who is around a lot of people today who kind of forces themselves on the people, celebrities and politicians. And I'm thinking only name I can come up with right now is Tyler Perry.
Yeah, him too.
Jay-Z too, yeah. Remember Tyler Perry when he drove, he said, hey, when Whitney Houston died, I'll fly the body back. I thought that was odd. Why would you want to do that? Like, it's not like Whitney Houston's people were broke,
Yeah. That's strange. Maybe you thought that sounded noble.
But then there was another story when he did some heroism, rescued some people or something like that. There's always a whole bunch of stories like this I find pretty odd, and he's always in the studio, and it's like when you find people that keep staying in business, I get suspicious. Farrakhan is another one.
That old Farrakhan. Did Gregory speak of that situation where he was like, Malcolm called me, that story there, and I'm like, so he called you and you told him that day that you're not going to let the government get the price or two and they can touch you at any time. They know where you live. You understand? Why are you safe?
Yep.
Or why would you even think that they would want you when they want to kill him? and then saying the government on top of that.
Especially when he's supposed to know so much and have so many secrets.
Yeah, see, and I think what it was, he told Malcolm that day that they was gonna kill him, as he said, and reveal who the hell he was to him at that point in time too. That's the secret.
Could be. I mean, it's clear that Malcolm X knew he was gonna die, and he just said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, so since you know this is gonna happen, I'm gonna tell you what it's been with me this whole time, and that's gonna be your dying memory.
There's a video on YouTube where this guy, I forgot his name, Sirac or something like that. He has a beard, light-skinned guy. Used to be on that Like It Is a lot, but I didn't know. I guess I wasn't paying attention to his what he was talking about at the time. But there's a video where he's at an audience and a guy comes up. He says, "I overheard you and Malcolm talking shortly before he died, and you were screaming and yelling at the guy like he was a bitch or something. You were saying, 'You better do what we tell you to do, or we'll kill you.'" Then the guy calls the guy crazy. I said, "Damn, sounds feasible." Because once somebody
yeah. That Razak guy, Razak was the one that was yelling at him.
Yeah. I said, that's pretty weird, man. I mean, and that's the guy who tried to act like he was his buddy.
Mm-hmm. When people play that stuff up, yeah, I always watch them. No different than at the Last Supper. Is it I? You know, there's the quote unquote ask Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Malcolm X is true to the game. That's probably why he was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna stick to what I'm gonna stick to." Because right at this point in time, I don't want to be a phony. You know?
Yes, I understand that part. Being stand up, and at the same time, like kind of like this Godfather Harlem kind of plays up some of what you're saying as to him not wanting to be on the sideline. We building this standing army for what? You know, to look mean and show a presence. You already don't have weapons, right? So to speak. And it's ironic that they don't carry weapons and he died by a gunfire.
Right.
So if you can't get them, you know where to get them. Or if you don't carry, you know where to get them.
Yeah, especially when you have coon agents on the scene. You know what I mean?
Like your Boris Farrakhan.
Oh yeah, and no doubt about that.
I used to think he was legit, and then I just started looking back. You know, it's the thing about time and history. You can go back. And then when just articles and whatnot, what he was printing of the man, and then at the same breath, yeah, he was my teacher. He was the one. It's the reason why he was attracted to him, but then attracted to the nation. And then when that crossword would come, you don't go with him like some of his aides. What's his name? I can't think his name. Excuse me at the moment. But there are a few people who left the nation and went with Malcolm, and you was one of the ones who didn't big him up when you get ready.
Right.
That's fishy.
Yeah. A lot of people got to understand, man, these coon agents out there, man. And when you see that a guy like Farrakhan keeps getting all the press, and if they hated him like that, they wouldn't report on him.
That's the part I don't get neither. That last little old stint he made in this RZA Islam guy was promoting that for the last however many X amount of years he has not been getting any press and whatnot. And I'm sitting here thinking, why are you saying, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and here it is, you saying he has not been allowed to. Wait a minute, you are the quote unquote honorable Minister Lewis. So why does anybody have to let you? And I heard him at his own mouth speak as if like, I'm the freest black man there is. Why does somebody have to allow you and let you be?
Dropped out. He did that or it's mine. Yeah, I guess she dropped out. But with that, my voice is on its way out and dry. But I think we all get the message, and I'd like to thank everybody. I know this wasn't the most one that was in high demand, like a lot of people like, but at least I still had to get it out and explain it, and this will be here for reference. But check out that Harvey and Lee site to get deep into this situation. Then you can see closer to the truth for yourself with that. Thank everybody, and everybody watching this later on. Thank you.